Hot chocolate.
Yeah, no
Hot
kidding.
chocolate and a little fire.
It's probably gonna be the last Friday we'll have temperatures like this.
It was. We were at Byers doing the Valley Forge game last night. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Friday Night Huddle. I'm Dave Bacon. The last Friday night in September. It's week 5 of the regular season in high school football across Ohio, about to kick off. Along with Chris Fedor from cleveland.com, Nate Klein from cleveland.com. I'm Dave Bacon. Guys, where did the first half of the season go? We blinked and we're at week 5.
And you just pointed out the end of September. I was like, where did the time go? So, yeah, but no, just looking forward to this rest of this half of the season. But yeah, some great games on tap for tonight. So,
speaking of great games, let's take a look at them. Here is our menu, what we are working on. The big one down in Akron, St. Vincent, St. Mary against Hoban. Yeah, that should be a good one. Couple of unbeatens as Midview and Avon. Lots of scoring in that one. Another one in the Suburban League with some unbeatens. Stowe 4-0, Wadsworth 4-0. That'll be interesting. Highland unbeaten, taking on Revere, Brush, and Kenston. A little bit of a later start. Bedford getting a real test, going down to play at Paul Brown Tiger Stadium in Massillon. Brunswick and Menor. Brunswick will get a test from Steve Trevisano and his guys. Perry and Wickliffe. Buckeye and Columbia, and Strongsville and Solon. We'll start with you, Chris Fedor. Which of those games kind of grabs your attention? What are you looking at? What are you thinking?
Guys, you know it's a big one when they create a documentary about the game. I mean, when you've got Akron Holy War going on tonight, that's the one that I'm focusing in on. There are so many different layers to this one. I think it starts, guys, with the fact that these two teams can't meet again this year because of the move up into Division II. It's not a situation where, okay, if we lose in the regular season, we'll see you again in the playoffs, potentially. This is the one. So if you're a kid that was debating between St. Vincent St. Mary and Archbishop Hoban and you're in 7th grade, 8th grade, this is your chance to beat your buddy in this game. And I think the quarterbacks in this one is a freshman who is getting his feet wet for the very first time, taking over for Danny Clark. That's Hoban's side. I mean, that's pressure when you talk about it. And then on the other side, you've got Luke Lindsay, who didn't play in either game between the two teams last year. 45-7 Hoban in the two combined meetings. So many different layers to this one tonight.
Yeah, a lot of skill position guys who are young, getting that first taste of it.
Yep.
The big stadium at InfoCision, so they expect a huge crowd, as there always is. So it'll be a big-time atmosphere, and you have a lot of young guys. So turnovers always seem to play a role in those things. Nate, what are you looking at?
well, in you talking about skilled players, this is one game I'm looking at. I'm looking at the Suburban League matchup between Stowe and Wadsworth. Now, if you're a fan of skill position, if you're a fan of dual threat quarterbacks, this is probably going to be the game for you. Corian Rice from Stowe coming in this year, taking over for the Bulldogs. And then you have Joey Boffman on the other side. One guy plays wrestling, the other plays basketball. So these guys are very athletic. They knew how to move around the pocket. But last week in both of their wins, these are two 4-0 teams. They both had over 200 yards passing last week. So I'm really curious how the Suburban League matchup is going to handle between these two.
Well, you bring up passing. I'll take Avon and Midview. I'm guessing some scoreboards are going to be blowing up out in Lorain County. Both of these teams throw the football. Both of them score points. Whoever has the ball last could very well win, or whoever comes up with a couple of defensive stops could very well win between the Middies and the Avon Eagles, both 4-0, Southwestern Conference title. Probably at least the driver's seat in that conference race at stake here in Week 5, and we're just getting into conference play here in Week 5 as well.
And as much as you talk about their offense and the passing as well, this is one thing that kind of startled me in this game was that these two teams and their average of scores or allowing points is in the teens.
Yep.
So that's something I'm going to be kind of focused on. Are they going to be able to continue to keep that up, or is it just going to kind of get out of is the game going to get out of reach for one of these teams? And then also, I guess we're going to see if the light bulbs work as well, like we talked about last week in the scoreboard. So
it's kind of interesting. Both teams were pushed in Week 1.
Yep.
Midview, 3-point win or a touchdown win over Lorain. Very good Division I team. And then Avon goes down to Florida and beats Merritt Island, a perennial playoff team down in Florida. So both have had early season tests. Both will get tested again here in Week 5 without question.
And Dave, you talk about that Midview game in Week 1 against Lorain. I mean, what a great opportunity that was for Midview to have a new quarterback in Seamus Higley in a big spot, nice and early, getting his feet wet, getting an understanding of what it was going to take to win games at this particular level. And then you think about how that kind of win, a come-from-behind win like that with a new quarterback, can propel you to this point. And Midview has handed North Olmsted its first loss of the season, Amherst its first loss of the season, and now they got a chance tonight to hand Avon its first loss of the season.
Tall task, though, but you're right. Seamus Higley stepped in, has done a great job. New quarterback filling in for pretty good quarterback who graduated over for the Middies. Historically good, as they say. Let's take a look in as Midview and Avon, one of the games we will be looking in at throughout the night. Just underway, first quarter action, Midview and the Avon Eagles going at it. Lorain County battle, Southwestern Conference. And a good look at it is...
There's so many playmakers on both sides,
I know.
That's the other thing.
Avon likes to get after it and run the up-tempo. Ryan Malloy is their quarterback, and he's number 5. Big play wide receiver for Avon has been David Orlando, and they run that formation, 4 wides. They'll bunch 3 of them up. Your defense better be on their toes. That's Orlando in motion, and that's who they get the ball to. Good job, open field tackle for the Middies, is making that tackle in open space. Aiden Breggins, one of their defensive backs, getting out and doing that. We will check in on that game as it continues to develop.
And Chris, and you mentioned it earlier, you were talking about the number of playmakers on the Avon football team, but these two teams are so familiar with each other as well. Like, I figure probably in the last 5 years, at least one of these teams has held the Southwestern Conference title, so they know each other very well. Obviously, looking at them scoring, allowing only an average of 10 in the teens of points against opponents. These two teams, this is going to be kind of an interesting game. I kind of said to myself, if Avon doesn't get on the scoreboard first, I think it might be a long game for them. But obviously, I know there's a lot of time in the game. But I feel like that's kind of one thing that we'll be able to tell, are they ready to come to play against Midview?
I think it's interesting, too, that there's kind of been a shift in the SWC and maybe even in Lorain County where it used to be Avon Lake. And don't get me wrong, that's a huge rivalry. Crosstown, those kids grew up playing against each other. But it has now turned into Avon Midview over the last couple of years. And I think Avon is the team that is always there at the top of Division II, and I think Midview is a team that's always there as well. But Midview came into this year, guys, with more questions.
that team, especially when it comes to getting things going on offense.
Another couple of guys that I know you like, Mark, one from Northwest Ohio, one from the southern part of the state. Brennan Armstrong from Shelby is headed to Minnesota.
Yeah, and you know what? He got an early offer as a freshman in high school, which brought us all to Shelby, a smaller school. And then he grew up to be a man. As we followed him throughout his camps career, sophomore year, you saw a little bit more. Junior year at camps, he's one of the biggest, strongest arm guys there. Again, spins the ball well, high level of accuracy, and then he's a better athlete than people give him credit. Sometimes when he'd take off for all those touchdowns, you'd say level of competition. He destroyed the level of competition with his legs. That's why he's a Big Ten quarterback right now.
P.J. Fleck, of course, at Minnesota, yeah. So a guy that had some success at Western Michigan. You talk about Jay Volpenheim. I know you like him a lot from Anderson.
Yeah, he was one of my highest-rated quarterbacks, and not because of the yards and all the touchdowns, which he had a ton of them, but the ball jumps off his hand, and that's what you look for as a scout. You want to see that ball high velocity, and again, repeated level of accuracy. He had some nice targets, a tight end that would go down the field for him. Made a lot of plays with that arm, and I expect to see him make a deep run in the playoffs this year also.
The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education program has been recognizing students and teachers who shine both in and out of the classroom since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com and click on Supporting Education. Students in kindergarten through 12th grade are eligible to be academic all-stars. K through 12 teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible to be honored as the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education, where stars shine.
All right, the Fairport Harbor Band is our band correspondent, Krista DeFini. We talked about the Massillon and Bedford game. Massillon out to a 14-0 lead. So Sean Williams Bearcats getting a test on the road at Paul Brown Tiger Stadium. Kenny Williams studied for the test. Through the hole, and you can't teach speed. Kenny Wilkins gone for the touchdown, 65 yards. Wilkins also got the two-point conversion to make it a 14-8 deficit for the Bearcats in the first quarter.
That's their offense. Big plays. We talked about it earlier. My goodness. Seems like a different guy stepping up each week for them, too, making one of those big plays. Wilkins wasn't there last week. He was suspended. D'Angelo Howard stepped in. Davion Johnson stepped in. Emmanuel Jenkins. So they just have so many different weapons. I guess the question for Bedford is, can their defense hold up and match their offense?
Well, and, you know, you fall behind 14 at a place like Paul Brown Tiger Stadium. You know the home stands are packed. You know they're loud. You know they're wearing orange and black. And good job by the Bearcats to respond with a long touchdown run.
Yeah, and both of these teams, there's no question. I mean, they can put up points in this game here. So, you know, I was actually a little nosy. I went to Drew Pastor to see what this game was being projected, who's going to win this game possibly. You know, Massillon was projected to win it, but by 6 points. So, you know, this could come down to just, you know, who makes the final play down the stretch here. But obviously, Bedford is definitely not out of this game here by a long shot.
And Massillon's only loss is in the opener against Menor. And Menor tonight doing a little bit of damage against Brunswick. So yeah, they're pretty good.
They've responded pretty well, 42-0 in the first half. So
wow.
You know, rumors of the Cardinals' demise on offense greatly exaggerated.
Good thing I picked the Akron Holy War. I was going to pick that Menor-Brunswick game as the one that I was watching because the last 3 meetings between the two teams have been decided by a total of 23 points, and for some reason Brunswick has tended to play Menor really, really close, even if Brunswick is struggling on the season. Not so much tonight.
42-0, that's still in the first half, so they're going to start with a running clock in the third quarter of that game. We showed you earlier that Hoban took a 7-0 lead. You didn't think St. Vincent St. Mary was going to go quietly, did you? The quarterback, Luke Lindsay, less than a minute remaining, buys some time, and he finds Jalen Ross in the back of the end zone for the touchdown, and that will tie it up. And it's actually Zachary Olson, Zach Olson with the touchdown catch on that play, as it was a 41-yard touchdown, and ties it up at 7 just before half.
If Luke was developing any sort of favorite receiver, you're going to find out tonight. And it happened even last week with this same combination of Zachary Olson as well. Zachary Olson had 5 catches for 139 yards last week and a touchdown. So these both of these two know each other very well. And if they need to play, I think they're going to go to these two. But Hoban needs to realize that soon if they want to make sure they can come out with the win themselves. So.
Yeah, so nice job of finding them in the back of the end zone right before half, tied at 7. So, you know, you go in, and St. Vincent St. Mary will get the ball to start that third quarter, as Hoban had that long drive early that they turned the ball over. So you get the touchdown, you go in to halftime, you have momentum, and you can be sure they're saying, guys, let's get out and let's get another one.
Yeah, and for St. Vincent St. Mary, I mean, this has been, historically, this rivalry is nice and even. It's dead even. But recently, it's been in favor of Hoban. So for St. Vincent St. Mary, I mean, this is one that obviously they want to get because it's a rivalry game. But, I mean, they've got big ambitions, and I think this is an excellent test for them and to be right there in striking distance against Hoban, a team that in last year's 2 meetings lost by 45-7. To be right there is exactly what they're looking for going in the second half with a chance.
Absolutely. And both of these teams run the ball very well as well. But, yeah, we talked about earlier, like once they start getting in that groove of not running the football and start airing it out a little bit, we're going to start seeing some scores, and that's exactly what we saw happen here.
Let's check in on Avon and Midview, one we expected to be a high-scoring game. The Eagles with the football, and you see a 14-7 lead. Ryan Malloy finds Chris Mullins taking off down the sidelines, and Chris Mullins gets into the end zone, and Avon expands their lead to 14 points, 21-7. Avon leading Midview in the second quarter.
This is another receiver quarterback combination. As I was mentioning earlier, Ryan Malloy and Chris Mullins. Mullins had over 100 yards passing last week, and Ryan Malloy had over 200. So, again, if there's going to be a key to a victory here, it's going to be between those two and trying to settle this game here.
Well, so. Orlando has been a big play guy for them, too, David Orlando.
Don't forget Sticky Hands, who had the #1 play on ESPN Sports Center. Don't forget him.
He got hurt.
I know he got hurt. So you think about them being able to do this offensively without that guy who made that catch for ESPN Sports Center, maybe Player of the Year. Who knows? That's what it takes. It takes other guys stepping up like Mullins there instead of just all Orlando.
So the good news for Pappas, he signed with Lake Erie. So senior got hurt early in the season, and he's he signed with Lake Erie with the Storm. So we're happy for Pappas, the tight end for Avon.
That catch was so good.
Week 5 already, and we talked about it a little bit. One thing that's very surprising to me is that 42-0 score for Menor, and I know Menor didn't start out as strong as they would have liked to, but they really seem to be getting things rolling. And Coach Trevisano kind of alluded to it, saying, "Yeah, I thought we played pretty well." And usually when he says those kind of things, it means defenses better beware because we're starting to find and do the things we're supposed to do.
Yeah, and Brunswick, you got to go all the way even back to the summer that they have a new coach now. They're putting some new plays and everything in place right now. So last week when they won to Canada Prep 7-6, I had to look. I said, man, how are they going to fare against Menor? Because they got to put a lot more points on to compete against with the Cardinals. But for a team who's only averaging about 18 points scoring on offense, they were going to need to find some answers. And right now it looks like it's getting out of hand for them. So,
well, and for Brunswick, it's kind of back to the future. What they've done is they've brought back Coach Pinzone, Mark Pinzone, who built Buckeye into a playoff powerhouse over in Medina, across town from where Brunswick is. He was an assistant coach there with Rich Nowak when they were perennial Division I playoff team. Rich Nowak is on his staff. So you can be sure Blue Devils will get back to the things that they did when they were really successful. Get away from them. They were running a form of a veer, wishbone type attack, and that's not what they had done when they were successful. But it's going to take some time because you've got an entire class. You know, he's gone 4 or 5 years. You've got an entire class of people that have come through and don't understand the way he wants them to play football, and that's going to change.
Right, and the players that they had previously fit the previous offense.
Correct.
The whole triple option, run between the tackles thing, and some of their offensive linemen were talking about it going into this game against Menor about how winded they are.
Yeah.
Because they're playing so fast, they're not huddling, and it's going to take them time to get the conditioning up. It's going to take them time to get the chemistry down, knowing where they're supposed to be, knowing where the quarterback is supposed to be, knowing where the running back is supposed to be. So it's a building process for Brunswick. It seems rare to say that given the past success that they've had, but this is a team that won 2 games all of last year. This is a team that lost a lot of close games, didn't know how to win those close games, and that's why they went 2-8. Already here they are, getting blown out by Menor, sure, but they've already won 3 games.
Right.
So they've already passed last year's win total, and they're doing it with a brand new offensive scheme.
And the thing is teams like Menor and teams, there are a couple more teams on Brunswick's schedule, very unforgiving. If you make mistakes, you're going to get hammered against teams like this. And that's part of the process. That's part of what Coach Pinzone is going to, you know, he's got a relatively young group, young with him, and that's what he's going to be teaching and preaching.
And it looks like Menor has kind of taken their offense to another level. It's so weird to say because it's Menor and they're averaging 40 points per game. But once they get that running game going to complement the passing game, guys, I mean, that's when you start seeing them put up those big numbers and hang with any team in Northeast Ohio. And Chris Edmond, their running back, had 123 yards and 4 touchdowns last week against Strongsville. They had over 500 yards of total offense. So once you get Edmond mixed into there, along with quarterback Tadas Tatarunas, and then, of course, Logan Shea, the great wide receiver who has more catches than anybody in Northeast Ohio to this point. That is a complete offense that, as you said, Dave, is going to take any little mistake and open it up and burn you.
And looking at the defense for Menor, Josh Stacho was going to be the person they were going to have to stop on Brunswick tonight. He's another guy who can do it with his legs as well. So for the Menor defense, one of the keys was being able to contain him tonight. Obviously, it looks like they're doing that. But, you know, like you said, some unforgiving teams in the Greater Cleveland Conference, Euclid, Solon, Menor, Strongsville. I mean, these are some tough squads, and obviously for Menor, you know, it looks like they're on track to maybe even take that title this year. And Brunswick, they've got a tough road ahead of them right now. So,
well, one of the games we're tracking is Highland and Revere. Spencer Davies is covering that from cleveland.com, and we are going to check in with Spencer on the phone. Spencer, tell us how the Hornets are putting this one together as they are up big.
It's a complete football game, period. I mean, it took until 3:22 in the second quarter for Revere to stop their offense. I mean, Matt Ernest, he's got 209 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air, and 1 actually rushing touchdown there near the end of the first half. He's really leading this offense, and Jake Rogers is just flying all over the place. He even threw a touchdown pass himself on a little bit of a trickery play, and he picked the ball off as well and has 51 yards on the ground on 7 carries. So their offense is looking great, and their defense is looking even better.
Spencer, as you look at it, have they been doing the zone read? We've seen the highlights that you sent with the pass plays. Have they been set up by that zone read that Highland has run so proficiently?
Absolutely, yeah. They're definitely putting a little bit of pressure on that Revere defense by making them choose, pick their poison out there in the backfield, and it's paying off.
Spencer, you mentioned the defense of Highland coming into tonight's game. They're allowing just 11.2 points per game. What is it that makes the Highland defense so effective?
It seems like their front seven is really good. They're getting a lot of pressure on their on the line there, going after running back for Revere, and he's trying. He's got 11 carries on 47 yards. Matt Buser, their senior. But other than that, there's just been absolutely nowhere to go for him.
Have you been as impressed with that Highland defense? I saw him in a scrimmage. I came away thinking this is a really good football team. Is that kind of the impression that you got? Pretty complete and a handful?
Yeah, pretty quickly. I mean, it's the first time I've ever covered Highland football, and you just see that they have the size and they have a lot of camaraderie there on that team, and they're definitely making it tough on the Minimet to even move up and down the field.
All right, Spencer Davies, we appreciate it. We'll check back in as Highland up big on Revere, 28-0 at half. We're going to head back to the phones and check with Dan Gillis as he has Buckeye and Columbia. And Dan, how are the Bucks doing after Mark Pinzone, their head coach, has moved on? It's a team that's very good. I know they're 4-0. How are they doing tonight?
Justin Canaday has been the man for Buckeye. So far, I have him with accounting for 2 of their touchdowns, 80 yards on 3 carries, and he had an 86-yard kickoff return. And with Columbia, it's been the Brandon Coleman show. So it's been those 2 guys really kind of can you top this? I have Coleman with 155 yards on 20 carries and 2 touchdowns, and came a yard within getting a third had he not fumbled on the goal line and one of his teammates fallen on it. So that's pretty much been the story of this game.
Dan, do you get the sense of whichever defense can come and get a couple of stops, that's who's going to end up winning this game?
Yes, I would imagine so. And so far, Buckeyes had a few more stops than Columbia has, except right before the end of the half, 5 seconds left, Columbia got a touchdown to make it 28-20. But yeah, I would have if Buckeye can get a stop or 2 early on and they get the ball first to start the second half, I think they can improve to 5-0.
What has really jumped out about that game? What's kind of been the thing that really has impressed you the most?
What's impressed me the most is while Canaday obviously is their big playmaker, they have some guys that can do some things with the football besides him. Their other running back, Dominic Monaco, has a touchdown tonight, and their quarterback actually has 53 yards rushing and scored once, and it's 4 for 4 passing. So these guys, it's not just a one-man show for Buckeye. He's certainly helped, and you're certainly aware of him, but I think he's helped open things up for those 2 other guys to do some damage as well.
All right, Dan Gillis, we appreciate the update. Buckeye up 28-20 on Columbia. Let's head back to the phones. And Jeff Sabo from SEC TV has the update on the Solon Comets. Jeff, what's going on with the Comets tonight?
Well, at halftime, the Solon Comets are up 14-7 over the Strongsville Mustangs. Thomas Wilkes getting the job on the ground once again, getting 2 touchdowns. That's his 7th and 8th touchdowns of the season. He also took a fake punt down to the 3-yard line for the Comets, which eventually set up the first touchdown of the Comets. And that's where we stand at halftime. Solon 14, Strongsville 7.
Jeff, as you look at it, what has Strongsville been able to do? How'd they get their 7 points on the board?
Well, their 7 points came off of an interception that they took down to the 2-yard line. Taylor Griffin was able to punch it in just a few plays later. The Strongsville team, they've really had some creative plays. They've really kind of caught this Comets defense off guard at certain times. However, 4 holding penalties have negated a lot of their big plays here tonight. You can tell the Strongsville team definitely more aggressive on offense, trying to throw down deep several times, but a lot of the holding penalties really stopped their drives. Johnny Major in at quarterback, really doing a good job of extending certain plays, and as a result, the Mustangs are only down by 7.
Jeff, it was 2 weeks ago that Solon lost to Stowe for the first time, the first loss all season. How has Solon progressed since then? How are they different since they lost that game against Stowe?
Well, just on offense, here tonight, they really kind of came out clicking a little bit more. JT Caver came in very early on. The Comets really started to go with not only some looks that we hadn't seen, with not only Wilson in the backfield, but also Andrew Mason in the backfield as well. They've also been going to no-huddle offense at certain times, which it was something they kind of experimented during the Elyria game. They've really been able to catch the Mustangs off guard at certain times. Really started throwing some passes to Taj Ward, who hadn't really had a whole lot of catches coming into this game. And as a result, they've found different ways to move the ball up the field. So to answer your question, they've just been a little bit more creative offensively. They've really just been able to trust themselves more and just really haven't just relied on one or two plays.
Jeff Sabo from SETV, we appreciate the update. 14-7, Solon leading Strongsville. Well, we've looked in a couple of times on the Hoban-St. Vincent-St. Mary game, tied at 7 at half. And the guys calling the game on Spectrum Sports, which you can see at 11 o'clock on Spectrum Sports, Dave Wilson and Ryan Kavanaugh have this halftime update. Take it away, guys.
It's halftime here at Infocision Stadium, where Akron, St. Vincent, St. Mary, and Archbishop Hoban are doing battle. 7-7. David Wilson along with Ryan Kavanaugh. And Ryan, a 7-7 ball game, not what a lot of people expected, but these defenses have been outstanding.
And they shone in the first quarter, as it was 0-0 at the end of the first quarter. Very physical, very fast, and each team with one takeaway in that first quarter, which helped keep them out of the end zone.
Well, as far as the scores, Tyrus Dickerson coming out of the backfield to catch a short touchdown pass for Hoban, and then the big connection for St. Vincent St. Mary, Luke Lindsay to Zach Olson, both very well-designed plays.
Yeah, and Lindsay was only with 45 seconds left at the end of the half, 4th and 13, and credit Luke Lindsay for using his feet, extending the play, and finding Olson in between the two defenders. But for both teams, Hoban offensively, it's been a lot of Tyrus Dickerson both on the ground and through the air, and Hoban's defense has taken away Terrence Keys, the super sophomore, so Luke Lindsay has got their offense going with the pass.
7-7 at the half here in Akron. More to come here on Spectrum Sports.
All right, we appreciate it, guys. We will have live look-ins on the second half of that as well. Let's head back to the phones. Ryan Isley is at that Massillon-Bedford game. Ryan, what has grabbed your attention with the Tigers and Bearcats?
Well, hey, guys, I'm just glad that the track meet has slowed down a little bit. We had 3 touchdowns in about a 5-play span about 3.5 minutes into this game, and it looked like this game was going to take 6 hours at that rate. Bedford has bounced back after trailing 14-0, and they now lead 16-14 after Kenneth Wilkins scored his second touchdown of the game on the first play of the second quarter from 5 yards out on 4th and goal for the Bearcats.
So, Ryan, 2 two-point conversions for the Bearcats then after 2 Wilkins touchdown runs.
Absolutely, and the first one was a running play. The second one was a nice little trick play, halfback pass back to the quarterback, and wide open. It was an easy 2-point conversion for Bedford, and so they've gone with the 2-point conversions after both touchdowns, even though it was a standard 14-0 lead. Instead of going for the extra point to make it 7, they went for 2, connected both times, and now they have a 2-point lead.
How impressive has it been from what you've seen that the game didn't start well for Bedford, yet they come back and now they have a 2-point lead?
To be perfectly honest with you, it was almost more bad football by Bedford instead of good football by Massillon that gave them a 14-0 lead. The interception was a bad read. He threw it right into the stomach of the defender. The fumble was just a botched handoff that there was nobody from Massillon in the backfield. They were self-inflicted wounds, and once Bedford has cleaned those up, their defense has come out and played well, and the offense has finally started picking it up. Last week they had over 700 yards of offense, so you knew eventually they were going to start putting yards up and start putting points on the board. But like I said, those first 2 drives for Massillon were set up so perfectly because Bedford just couldn't get out of its own way.
Hey, Ryan, this is Nate Studio. I'm just curious, how would you assess Bedford's defense? Because I felt like that was something that was going to have to show up tonight against Massillon.
Nate, the first play, they scored quick. Massillon went up top for a long pass play, 55-yard pass play on their first play. It was coming off of that interception. But ever since then, Massillon's moved the ball a little bit, and they're moving it a little now, but Bedford's defense has started to swarm the football. They're starting to hit. They're starting to get in the backfield. They're not missing assignments. They missed an assignment on that first touchdown, I think. I'd love to see the overhead on that, but it looked like they missed an assignment deep in the secondary, and now it looks like they're putting helmet on helmet, and they're making plays on this Massillon offense. So it's almost like they were shell shocked coming out of the game and giving up that first touchdown. Once they did that, I think they've finally gotten back into themselves. They've calmed down a little bit. The coaches have gotten in their ears, and they've come out and played a lot better defense since that first possession.
Ryan Isley, we appreciate it. We will get more updates from Bedford and Massillon as the night goes along. Bedford leading 16-14 in that one, and a little bit high-scoring affair. We're going to check back in with Stephen Means on the phone. He is at the Menor-Brunswick game as we speak high-scoring affairs. Stephen, looks like the Cardinals are looking pretty good.
Yeah, the Cardinals have been great from the opening kickoff. 83 seconds per possession is how long they've taken to scoring on all 7 of their first half possessions for 428 yards. And Tari Runis, their quarterback, is 12 of 14 for 201 yards. McDougal has added 2 touchdowns himself. So they've pretty much dominated this game from start to finish so far.
What about the defense? Have they turned the ball over? Is that kind of how they got the ball 7 times in the half?
No, it's just been quick defensive possessions for and out. I think Brunswick maybe has 2 first downs this entire first half. So it's just been quick 3-and-out possessions for Brunswick to give and then Mentors getting the ball in perfect position. I think they started on the right side of the 50 2 or 3 times this half to come out with pretty much a big-time first half and putting this game away pretty much.
Is it has it been the Menors defense as well? Has that been as impressive as that offense?
Yeah. Games like, yes, this is exactly what a coach wants. He wants their offense to be just as great as their defense looks. And that's exactly what's been the case today. Both sides of the ball have been pretty much perfect outside of maybe a few, losses of yards. But other than that, they've been perfect.
Stephen Means, we appreciate it as men are up 49-0 at the half. So it will be a running clock in the third quarter for the Menor Cardinals. Let's check back in with Bryant Kaiser. He is at the Brush-Kenston game. Bryant, what's going on with our Arcs and Bombers?
We are at halftime, and Brush still leads Kenston 24-13.
What have the Arcs been doing since we last talked to you?
It has been all defense. Kenston has 3 turnovers, and Brush has capitalized them all. We had Lanier with a 29-yard scoop and score on a fumble recovery. It's been the defense for the Brush and keeping Kenston off the boards. I mean, keep Kenston on any kind of momentum. They had Kenston had a 61-yard end around. Then they had a 10-yard touchdown run by Porter. And that's been it. Anything has been punting and 3 turnovers.
You talk about the turnovers. Was that bad offense by Kenston, or was that great defense by Brush? Because everybody knew coming into this game that Brush's offense was one of the best in the area, but I think there were questions about the defense.
Well, Kenston fumbled the opening kickoff, and then second possession, and their third possession, they had a scoop and a score by Brush. And they just Berg threw an interception toward halftime. So it's been, good defense by Brush, but, I think Kenston had a better offense, but they just cannot put it out there yet because Brush has played some good defense.
Do you get the sense that if Kenston can kind of eliminate the self-inflicted wounds that, they can get back into that game? We mentioned Kenston has won 8 straight, They won all 8 games they've played against Brush, in fact.
Yeah, I got the sense they could come back and win this. This is homecoming day, so you don't want to lose your homecoming game. And Kenston got a chance to. I think they might come back and win this game because Brush is really not doing too much on the offense. It's just Kenston is just helping them out.
All right, Bryant Kaiser. We will check back in with Bryant at that Kenston Brush game and. It's kind of interesting. Kenston 4-0. But again, you turn the ball over 3 times in the first half. You're not going to win many games no matter how good you are.
Yeah.
Well, looking ahead, I was looking at Rush and Kinston. I was just trying to see who they've been playing in the last 4 weeks here and just trying to evaluate that. And the teams that they've played right now are either 500 or below. So I'm just wondering, are these mistakes that Kinston has been making before and now it's catching up to them or not? But I feel like I think this is where it is right now. I feel like they've made too many mistakes right now and they've kind of got themselves into a hole. But still, there's plenty of halves still to play.
I think that's an interesting point, Nate. And going back to what we were talking about earlier about Bedford, and one of the concerns that you had, obviously, Bedford is a team that has turned the ball over at times, and they had 2 early on in the game. And you start to look and you're down 14-0, and they have stopped turning the ball over. They've gotten their offense going, and now here they are 16-14. So you hate turnovers as a team, but I think for some reason Bedford's the kind of team that is saying, you know, we're so good offensively that we may be able to overcome those things. And while that's great that you have the pieces to overcome those things and you've got the attitude and the mentality to overcome those things, you just don't want to fall into that false sense of security. And that's the thing that I think Bedford needs to work on, little victories moving forward, because when you get into the postseason and the competition starts to ramp up, that's when those things can really come back to bite you.
Well, we had mentioned that St. Vincent St. Mary scored late in that first half to tie the game, under a minute remaining. St. Vincent St. Mary gets the kick to start the second half at Infocision Stadium for the Holy War, if you will, and back deep, grabbing it for St. Vincent St. Mary is Russell Cooper, and Russell Cooper can move a little bit, caught from behind, but he gets inside the 45-yard line, down near the 42-yard line. So great field position, and there's that momentum that we touched on a little bit.
Yeah, earlier we were talking about the special teams and how this might be the difference between this. But, you know, one thing that just let viewers know, Dave didn't even tell us we were going to that. And so I knew something had to be good about this clip. I was like, something's got to be going on. So St. V has really set themselves up for a good position right now, good field position.
As what you need when you've got a young, inexperienced quarterback, that's the kind of spark that your offense could need.
Well, and keep in mind, Hoban, about 2-to-1 time of possession in that first half. So, you know, the recipe for winning a game like that, take care of the football, don't turn it over, and when you get opportunity, you have to take advantage of opportunities inside the red zone. They did that late in the first half. We'll see how that goes as that plays out. Let's look back in live, Infocision, and you see 2nd and 10. There's Keys, and now they're inside the 25-yard line. So, again, a really good start to the third quarter for St. Vincent St. Mary, trying to get that done, and that's a good-looking sophomore running back. Terrence Keys, 5'11", 190 as a 10th grader. Quarterback's also a 10th grader.
And we heard from the guys at halftime that Hoban has been doing a good job in the first half eliminating Keys or taking him out of the game and forcing Lindsey to be the one that beats them. If they can get Keys going, then all of a sudden things become easier on Lindsey, the quarterback.
Good defensive play in the secondary for the Hoban Knights as Donnie Swain gets it done.
And just away from a little bit of football, I think we're also on LeBron James watch tonight as well to see if he's come back to see St. Vincent St. Mary, his alma mater as well.
So here's an interesting proposition. 4th down and 8, ball right at the 25-yard line. Offense looks like it's staying on the field. You're kind of in that no-man zone. Field goal is going to be a real long one. Narrow goal posts on the college turf there. So they'll go for it on 4th down and 8 from the 25. These snaps are low out of the shotgun, too.
One throws off the timing.
Lindsey, a nice job and well covered. But again, the whole timing of that pattern and that play is thrown off by the low snap. You can't get back. You can't get the read.
Right.
Everything is delayed when you're in a shotgun and you've got to field it at your feet.
Previous play was like that, too. It was a quick slant pass. It was a timing pass, and I think that little delay, he was behind, and he gave the cornerback an opportunity to jump in front and bat it down. You got to execute the little things in these kinds of games.
Without question. That one's shaping up to be a really good one, as we thought it would be. Hoban and St. Vincent St. Mary tied at 7. Knights defense holds after that long kickoff. We're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Krista DeFini, our band correspondent from Independence High School, she takes us to break.
Halftime here at Independence, it's 42-0. Independence Blue Devils are winning, but the Fairport Marching Band is on the field with a bang.
This is it. Your big break. Your one shot. Your only chance. There are two outcomes. Make history or be history.
The home of high school sports. Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum. This city, this club, stands with you.
Danger from Mara!
What you live for lives here.
The volley, Kamara, yes!
Ohio's television home of Columbus Crew SC. Spectrum Sports, exclusively on Spectrum. Lives here. We are Spectrum Sports, exclusively on Spectrum.
Wednesday nights, get ready for kickoff with Spectrum Sports. High School Blitz Preview. The can't-miss show for all things high school football. We'll break down team news, the latest standings, and what to expect on the road to Canton. High School Blitz Preview, Wednesday nights at 7 on Spectrum Sports, exclusively on Spectrum.
Every week, from the locker room to the pitch and everywhere in between, Access Crew SC is your ultimate inside look at the black and gold. Join Marissa Contepelli, Dwight Burgess, and Neil Sika for unmatched coverage, in-depth analysis, and exclusive talks with the players and coaches. This is your club. This is your Access. Access Crew SC, Wednesdays on Spectrum Sports.
The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education program has been recognizing students and teachers who shine both in and out of the classroom since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com and click on Supporting Education. Students in kindergarten through 12th grade are eligible to be academic all-stars. K through 12 teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible to be honored as the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Have you ever lived for something? Have you ever dreamt of something? Something more? Something special? Something bigger than yourself? Well, have you? This is what you live for!
The home of high school sports. Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum. Crew SC Match Day. Every match, 30 minutes before the kick. Delivering everything fans need to know. With live reports, unmatched analysis, club news, and more. After the game, stay here for Crew SC Post-Match. From the biggest moments to the road ahead, Crew SC Match Day and Crew SC Post-Match. Only on Spectrum Sports.
Had a long drive down the field, scored in the last 5 seconds, put them up 10-7.
But we are going to come back. We're coming down strong, and
yep, Mayfield's looking to have a big second half, got us back in the lead. Hopefully things end well.
Yeah, we're gonna watch the band now.
Gina DePippo, our student reporter from Mayfield High School. Let's head back to the phones, and we'll check in with Mike Patika. He has the Perry and Wycliffe game. Mike, what is going on with the Perry Pirates?
Well, the Pirates have been a juggernaut so far this season, and it continues tonight. They led only 20-14 early second quarter, but two late touchdowns made it 35-14. The Pirates' left-hand quarterback, Holston Brewster, is 18 of 27. For 250 yards, 2 touchdowns. Of the 9 incompletions, maybe 4 or 5 of them were drops. He said Josh Martin, 7 catches, 79 yards and a touchdown, and Jake Reed, 4 catches, 64 yards and a touchdown. Wycliffe's big moment was an 86-yard kickoff return for a touchdown by Isaac Petway. But it's obvious that Perry has a lot more ways to score, and their defense has also dominated after the first 10 minutes or so.
How impressive has Brewster been? 250 yards. So he's on his way to 500 for the night, huh?
Well, with the lead at 21, and, if they can build it early, I'm hoping he doesn't throw for 500, or that's going to mean the game will be 3.5 hours long forever. But he is very impressive, and he's hitting guys on the hands, on the numbers, on virtually every kind of route. And as I say, he's probably had only about 4 passes that have been off target at all.
Is this? It sounds like this is a team that looks like it's ready for another pretty deep playoff run, being the Perry Panthers. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, the
like
Perry
that.
Pirates.
Right.
Got
Pirates.
my Perry wrong.
Well, they outscored their first 4 opponents by nearly 200 points. Average yardage differential about 270 yards per game, and looks like that's going to be more than Matt's tonight, that yardage differential. As they lead in total yardage, 341 to 98.
Mike Patika, we appreciate the update. The Perry Pirates looking pretty impressive against Wycliffe.
However, Wycliffe can hang on to the fact that they are the first team all year to score more than one touchdown against Perry's defense.
Well,
So
one of them was a special teams touchdown.
That's okay. That's okay. They'll take it. They'll take it any way they get it.
Yeah, I hear you.
Right. Well, the first team in double figures.
Yeah, double figures. There you go.
Right.
I'm counting it. I'm counting it. Multiple touchdowns in one game. First team to do it. But I mean, it's
guys.
Appreciate it, Mike. Thanks very much.
It's been since 2004. 2004, the last time Wycliffe was able to beat Perry. So, I mean,
I thought you were going to say that's the last time somebody scored 2 touchdowns against them.
What were you doing in 2004, Nate?
That's a very good question. Now I got to look. I got to check my notes. But yeah. So, but no. Colston Brewster. Let me explain something about him to you. So last week he had a little under 200 passing yards. So I think he's one of these players that kind of rises to the occasion. Yeah. Because, again, in a win against Beechwood, you're just doing what you can to kind of win this game and preserve that. But, man, he's really coming out against Wycliffe right now, and he's really showing off his arms. So, obviously they still got some time left in the game, but, man, heck of a start.
Well, we're going to check in with one of our student reporters. Matt Ganser from Bay High School has a halftime report. Bay taking on Holy Name tonight. Take it away, Matt.
Thanks, guys. The Rockets lead the Holy Name Green Wave 24-0 at halftime. It's been a very traditional Rocket-style football game, ground and pound. All 24 points have been a result of the run game. The defense has once again had a stellar performance tonight, pitching a shutout. They have forced one turnover coming off a Max Showalter interception. To continue this dominance in the game, the Rockets may want to look to explore a vertical passing game, which could possibly look to open up the play action and could help their run defense because it will keep Holy Name on their toes. The defense would want to continue this success, maybe look to add some more guys in the line of scrimmage, stack the box a little bit more. Now back to you.
Well done, Matt Ganser.
Get after it, Bay.
Outstanding student reporter giving us the update as Bay leads Holy Name. Well, we have told you when last we left you, Bedford led Massillon 16-14 on the strength of 2 two-point conversions after their touchdowns. The Tigers, they answer as their quarterback's a pretty good one, Aiden Longwell. Time to throw and into the end zone. Austin Kutcher grabs it. That's a heck of a throw.
Ooh.
Threaded the needle for the touchdown pass. It is now 28-16. Massillon leading Bedford.
I thought that was picked.
I thought it was picked too.
I was like, wait, is that a defensive highlight? And then my man celebrating in the end zone. That was a heck of a throw.
Little juice on that one.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that quarterback.
Aiden Longwell.
Yeah, Longwell threw for 300 yards last week. So now here he is against Bedford coming into this game understanding, hey, I got to score. Bedford's a team that averages 34 points per game. I'm going to have to score in order to win this game, and he's throwing rifles like that.
Yeah, and a lot of those receivers that had the speed play defensive back too.
Yep.
So the skill positions for Bedford are pretty good. You can get in that tight window, you're doing something. So the Tigers with a 28-16 lead now.
I don't know. I'm still kind of a little stunned by that same play. We were talking about that. But no, Massillon, they have the firepower to be able to compete with Bedford as well. But, man, I feel like it's really going to come down to it. Who can make these plays down the wire? And who knows? Maybe it may have to be a special teams member that's going to have to try to make a difference in this game as well. So
could come down to a stop. Which offense is going to get stopped by the opposing defense?
It's interesting, too, because Massillon head coach Nate Moore last week after beating their opponent 42-13. 42-13. Think about that. He wasn't satisfied. He said, I'm not satisfied. We got to be better than this against Bedford. So even though they got that big win last week, he raised the bar for his team, and he set the tone immediately after last week's win, saying, look, guys, we're up against a great offense. We can't be giving up 400 yards of offense against that particular team. We can't be giving up the big plays against that team. And I like coaches that set the tone nice and early. And so far, for Massillon's defense to hold Bedford, a team that averages 34 points per game, a team that had 700 yards of total offense last week, to just 16 points, that is high-quality stuff.
Well, and you know what? Credit the Tigers' offense, because this has been a back-and-forth kind of thing. They scored a couple early and then Bedford responded. Now they've put back-to-back touchdowns on the board as well. So now, you know, the Tigers have responded to the adversity too. Good stuff in Week 5. That's what you're looking for from teams that want to be part of the playoffs.
Yeah, and you're looking for teams that progress, and you're looking for players that progress. And Aiden Longwell last week against Ursulines, coming off 324 yards passing, has the most passing yards as a team that Massillon has had since 2013. So you understand you're trending in the right direction, and instead of just idling there, it looks like he is building off of that. And if Massillon's offense can continue to put up points like that with the defense and in a tough environment to play, I mean, now all of a sudden you've got a makings of a team that can actually do some damage if they get to the postseason.
Massillon has a tough offense, and they have a tough passing game as well. So the next thing right now for Bedford is trying not to let this game get too out of hand, especially on the defensive side. Offense is going to find a way to be able to carry the team, but the defense needs to make sure that they need to keep this as close as they can as possible. So if they got to get back to getting back at the quarterback, getting back in the backfield, they'll have to do that. So,
you know, we had looked at a early score that was a little bit of a surprise early on. You know, Wadsworth had a 7-point lead on Stowe in the Suburban League battle. So, again, good stuff for the Wadsworth Grizzly. That's a tough test. Granted, very early, you know, they had the 21-14 lead on Stowe.
I'm all about that too. Like, I love looking at records and then just trying to analyze how and why they got to that point and whether they're legit or whether it's a mirage. Like Bedford, we looked at it and said, okay, 4-0. They got off to a great start again last year, and it doesn't mean that they're out of it in tonight's game, but their combined opponent's record was 3-13. So you start asking yourself questions. Okay, how real is this sort of thing? And for Wadsworth, you looked at the record coming in, and they just got into the top 25 in cleveland.com's poll, and you're like, okay, how real are they? And then you get up against a team like Stowe, and you start confirming that, hey, this is a team that does belong in the top 25. This is a team that does belong in the playoff conversation.
Boy, and Joey Boffman has been the leader of this group, and he's one of the reasons why they made that big jump. So for Stowe, I mean, you know, Joey is long, he's tall, he can move around the pocket, so Stowe's got to be able to find a way to contain him. And right now, it looks like they're doing just enough maybe of a good job because he hasn't put up that many points just yet. But, you know, Joey Boffman, I mean, he's really the big key. Stowe's got to be able to find a way to slow him down and try to see if they can put some points on the board, too.
The other thing they've got is they've got a young guy in the backfield named Brock Snowball.
Yep, and, great name. Great name.
Had a brother that was a heck of a football player when they were David Snowball.
Yep.
When they made a deep playoff run, played at the University of Akron. Matter of fact, running back, linebacker, just like Brock. He's, you know, these are young guys that are buying in and starting to see, yeah, we are pretty good, and you see that belief. You do it against teams that are well thought of. And all of a sudden, all the young guys get a little bit extra pep in their step, and that's, I think, what's happening with Wadsworth.
Well, after 4 weeks, I'm not really surprised by Wadsworth and their offense right now, but one of the advantages I thought in this game was Stowe was going to have with their offensive line. You know, they have a pretty stout offensive line. I felt like they could move the ball around to Rain Ray, Corian Rice. You know, they had a field. But I really thought they might have an advantage in this game, and right now, it's not showing. And so... And right now, Wadsworth is running away with it right now, and especially I believe it's at a home game tonight too as well. So, wow.
Well, you know, and you know, when we had talked to Coach Justin Todd last week after the win, you know, you could tell he was pointing to this game with his team, saying, "Okay, guys, we've done. Let's see how we do now."
Yeah,
and that's, you know, that's what you want as you're trying to build a program. You want to challenge your kids, and that's clearly what he's doing.
And not bad against a league champion from last year, world co-champion, you know, along with Hudson. But, man, heck of a job.
And if somebody doesn't use the play-by-play line of Snowball rolling downfield, they are totally missing the boat, just to say.
We're going to find a way to get in a news headline one day. So, but, yeah. But no, you're exactly right. Just targeting Stowe right now. I mean, they're the champs right now. And they're the champs until someone else finds a way to knock them off. And obviously, Wadsworth getting a chance to do that tonight.
And you're talking about Wadsworth, a team in Division II, Region 6, playing against a big boy. I mean, Division I, Region 1 is the best of the best. It's the biggest and the baddest. So for them to step up in competition against Stowe, a team that they have lost against 2 straight years, you know, just hanging with them is something that they should certainly be proud of. Leading them is something that can change your program.
And we can't be too surprised about this Region 6 as well. Avon, Redview, Highland. I mean, these are teams that are also putting points up on the board as well. So Wadsworth is just in that mix, and right now they're proving, hey, you know what? Let's get out of this regular season. Let's see what happens in postseason. But obviously, we still have some weeks to go left in the regular season. But man.
Let's check in with Chardon and Mayfield. Chardon leading 10-7, and the Hilltoppers driving, trying to extend that lead as Chardon taking on the Mayfield Wildcats. And they are inside the 10-yard line, third quarter, and the lead 10-7. Chardon with the 13-7 is our graphic is not correct, so it is a 13-7 lead for the Hilltoppers. I formation for Chardon. Now, a little rollout, and not much running room. Good job of pursuit defensively as Mayfield shuts down that attempt, and Chardon a 13-7 lead, looking to extend that lead. And Chardon, a team that really looking to get back on track and try to expand that lead and kind of climb a little bit in their playoff region as well.
Yeah, Chardon's coming off that 1-point win against Riverside last week, but Andrew, who's the quarterback you saw there a little bit, you know, he's also got to be a key to this. Now, Chardon again is not known for the ball a lot, so you know, I'm just curious to see how Chardon is going to be able to attack this defense right now that they're facing tonight, considering they like to run the ball a lot. But Chardon, you know, I mean, heck, you know, we're going to see what happens. I mean, they still got some playing time left, so.
Admittedly, coaches are smarter than me, but I just hate rolling a right-handed quarterback to the left and cutting off half the field when you're not a team that is prolific in the passing game. I would think that you would want the entire field to work with, especially in the red zone where everything shrinks already. I just think that was a tough play call right there.
Yeah, well, he might have been designed run because he planted and tried to cut and just couldn't cut. So, again, 13-7, trying to add to that lead is the Chardon Hilltoppers. You know, the interesting one, St. Vincent, St. Mary, and Hoban still tied at 7. So that's in midway through the third quarter. So trying to see which team can get a leg up on that. And that's, you know, those are going to be two teams that do extremely well moving forward. Let's look in as going up top, and incomplete intended receiver was Garrett Hauser. As that's out of bounds. Pretty good pass, though, by Shane Ham. Tight window. 3rd down and 5 coming up.
Again, technique-wise, it looks all good. And there's
good job breaking on the ball defensively as well, and knocked it out of bounds. So 3rd down and 5, and you see the ball's at the 26-yard line. You just get the feeling there's going to be some sort of big play, because teams have had extended drives, haven't been able to put it in the end zone. Both defenses have really gotten tough once the team has gotten into the 20. It's going to end up having to be a big play. Ham swings it out, and it's dropped.
Might have been a backwards pass.
And they're saying,
Richardson could not find the
see if they say.
And he tracks it down and falls on it.
Is that going to be a first down?
He's got a first down.
Well, now if the play was thrown backwards, let's see.
You can't challenge it.
Again here, it went backwards.
Oh, it is backwards. Yeah. So that's going to end up being a first down. Headsy play by Dickerson to get on that. Tyrus Dickerson. So I don't think that was exactly the way that play was designed. But
you don't say, Dave.
In a game like this, you take the first downs where you can get them.
That's the thing. And the thing that both these teams have to try and prevent is pushing it a little bit too much. Sometimes you get a little bit antsy.
Ham takes a shot downfield. Hauser grabs it. There's the big play. Garrett Hauser, touchdown from Shane Ham to give Hoban the lead. Hauser was covered, but he gets the ball. Ham, the freshman, put it up, and trusting the senior, who's a Naval Academy recruit, was going to make the play, and Garrett Hauser does it for the touchdown. That's a huge play late in the third quarter.
As I was just saying, go for the big play.
And Howard last week against West Toronto Prep had only 1 catch last week for 70 yards in the TDs. So, you know, big playmaker here for the Knights here.
So the point after, always critical. They knock it through, and it is a 14-7 lead for the Hoban Knights.
That's what you have to do as a young quarterback. As we talked about coming into this game, he's got 4 of his 5 linemen returning, and he's got 2 dynamic playmakers in Nate Bauer and Garrett Hauser. At some point, you just have to lean on those guys and give them a chance. And that's a young quarterback giving his playmaker a chance and his playmaker delivering.
Let's head back to the phones. Ryan Isley joins us. Halftime update with the Massillon Tigers and the Bedford Bearcats. What's going on, Ryan?
Guys, that might have been the craziest last minute or so of a half that I've seen in a long time. Massillon heads to the locker room with a 28-22 lead, but not without a little bit of controversy on the last Bedford drive. Bedford had used all of its timeouts. 10 seconds left, they snap a play. I should say with 20 seconds left, they snap a play at the 5-yard line, try to score. They can't score. They have no timeouts left. They get called for a false start with 2 seconds to go. They get the ball. The officials don't start the clock. They hold everything up. They start the clock, wind it. It goes to 0. They call another false start after the zeros. Give Bedford another play. Bedford then bangs it in the end zone for a touchdown. 28-22. And none of us are quite sure what happened there. It looked like, again, the clock was at triple zeros for sure. And with Bedford not having any timeouts left, they couldn't stop the clock. But the officials gave them an extra play anyway, and they took advantage of it.
And this is at Massillon with the visitors, right?
This is at Massillon with the visitors. And I'll tell you what, it's not the first call tonight that hasn't gone the way of the black and orange.
The officials may want to plan their route to their cars very carefully. I've been to Paul Brown Tiger Stadium and known you got to know which section you parked in and how to get there quickly. These
officials may leave with a couple minutes left in the fourth quarter just for their own safety. We may be playing call your own penalties for the last couple of minutes of the game.
What has Bedford been able to do that's enabled them to at least hang in there? Defensively, obviously, 28 points in the first half, not what they're looking for. What have they been able to do offensively?
Well, defensively, it's kind of not fair to their defense because they've been put in some bad situations. I told you guys about the 2 turnovers earlier. The last touchdown that Massillon scored, they were backed up 1st and 10. Bedford was at their own 10-yard line, took a sack to the 1, actually the 6-inch line on the first play, punted out of the end zone, and Massillon started at the 28. So they were able to punch it in, but Bedford was able to respond. They used Speedy like they did last week. Davion Johnson with a nice play down the sideline, lured a couple tacklers, threw a spin move in there on a couple tacklers and got down, and that's why they were inside the 5-yard line to begin with. They had a couple of big plays offensively there on that last drive. They sped it up because they didn't have any timeouts left. So I'll be interested to see if they try to go to that speed-up offense a little bit more in the second half, seeing how it worked against Massillon there at the end of the second quarter. But Massillon will get the football to start the second half, leading by 6.
How has Aiden Longwell, looked for the Tigers? We saw the touchdown that you sent. That was a pretty good throw. How has he looked throwing the football for Massillon?
Tell you what, both touchdown passes were really nice. That first one, again, I even though I believe there was a busted coverage, put it up over top down the right sideline. Beautiful touch on the long ball. He actually threw another one later that was very similar to it. Threw it more on a line. Got it between 2 defenders to his receiver, and then that last touchdown was just a thing of beauty. It went right through the hands of a defensive player who so hard the defender couldn't get his hands around it. Through his hands into the receiver's hands for a touchdown. Aiden Longwell has looked really good tonight running this offense, and it helps when he has Jameer Thomas running the football. So they've been able to run the football a little bit too, which opens up their pass game. Again, they were missing him in that first game this year that I saw against Mentor. So that's been the biggest difference I've seen offensively from Massillon from the first time I saw them earlier this year.
All right, Ryan Isley, we appreciate the update. We will check back in with Ryan. Again, that game, a half-hour late starting time, so that's just at halftime. We're going to check in on the phone with Austin Opfer. He has the Benedictine-Waterson game. And Austin, Benedictine with the big lead. What have the Bengals done well to get that lead on Waterson?
Yeah, it has been all turnovers so far in the first half. They have recorded 3 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries, and then they also have a blocked punt for a touchdown. And also in this game, one of the more bizarre things that happened, Columbus Bishop Waterson was actually driving. They threw it into the end zone, got intercepted by Michael Lacey of Benedictine. As he was trying to return it, it was determined that he stepped on the out-of-bounds line, so that's where the safety came in. But other than that, it has been all Benedictine so far as they lead 28-2.
So basically, defense has really ruled for the Bengals. Is that kind of the sense that I'm getting from that?
Oh, yeah. It has been tough going so far for Columbus Bishop Waterson, and they've gotten 3 sacks and then those 3 interceptions, and then they also have the 2 fumble recoveries. But they have just been getting after it, and that's really been the difference so far in this one.
All right, Austin Opfer with the update. We will check back in. So the Bengals under Carter Wheelo getting things done against Waterson.
They needed this year too, Benedictine did. If you talk about last year, they missed the playoffs for the first time since 2012. They're back in the playoff mix. Here they are. They're coming off a loss against Erie Cathedral Prep, 62-28, but I think you put that in perspective and say that's one of the best teams in Pennsylvania. It's a team that had not given up a lead after the first quarter up until last week against Benedictine. So this is a team that won 3 games last year. That was rare for them, and they've already matched that total, and they lost to Bishop Waterson last year 10-7. So if you're looking, okay, how far have we come since last year's team that only won 3 games? They're getting an answer to that tonight. They've come a long, long way, being up 28-2 at halftime against a team that beat them by 3 last year.
And this is a good sign for the Benedictine football team, because last week they gave up 710 offensive yards last week. Obviously, you heard the score from Chris here, but just that's a lot of yards to be giving up. So obviously, one of the keys that I said coming into the game was that Benedictine was going to have to be physical with this Waterson football team. Waterson lost last week to Wheelersburg, who was very physical, who's known for running the football down there. So I felt like that was probably going to be one of the keys for Benedictine as far as going to be able to get a win out of this. But again, great sign to see them ahead in this game.
Well, we're going to check back in Mayfield and Chardon as Hilltoppers with the lead, and the offense at it again. Keeping it is the quarterback. And he takes off, and he is gone. Has a big touchdown run, 60 yards to extend the lead by the quarterback. And that's Andrew Kobyleski with the touchdown, 20-7.
That's what you're used to seeing from Chardon. The big plays in the ground game, the misdirection, the keeps by the quarterback. And once you start getting those things going, it starts to resemble more and more what we're used to with Chardon. And for Mayfield, since week 1 against Walsh Jesuit, when they kept Walsh Jesuit off the board, it's been a tough go defensively for the Wildcats. Gave up 38 against Jackson, gave up 37 against Brush last week. So, it's a tough go when you're giving up that many points. You're putting your offense in a really tough spot.
Yeah, and for the Mayfield defense, I'm sure that they watched a lot of tape watching this Chardon football team, somebody that faced in the conference as well. But Andrew was putting up 159 yards passing last week. So basically the kind of question is, what kind of Andrew are we going to see tonight? Right. Are we going to see a runner? Are we going to see a passer? But, again, 159 yards passing and 2 touchdowns last week. I'm just curious, what is Mayfield kind of sitting back and watching right now, and what do they need to prepare for? So
you saw a big kid too.
And I thought that might have been Chase for a second, because Chase is just that big. Chase Klein, who's committed to Michigan State, and so I don't know. I mean, they're big. That's a big back.
Make them big, Chardon.
Good run. Well, we're going to step aside and take a quick timeout as Week 5 games are starting to get to the final here. It's Friday Night Huddle along with Nate Klein, Chris Fedor, I'm Dave Bacon. We'll be right back here on Spectrum Sports and cleveland.com.
Wednesday nights. Get ready for kickoff with Spectrum Sports. High School Blitz Preview. The can't miss show for all things high school football. We'll break down team news, the latest standings, and what to expect on the road to Canton. High School Blitz Preview. Wednesday nights at 7 on Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum.
101 reasons to watch Friday Night Huddle this fall, along with Mark Porter from scoutingohio.com and Nate Klein from cleveland.com. I'm Dave Bacon. Mark, as we talk about linebackers, one guy that is among the best in the country, Dallas Gant, is an Ohio State recruit. You know him pretty well.
Yeah, I've been to a bunch of those games to watch him, and boy, is he athletic. And that, you know, when you talk about the linebackers of the future at the college NFL, these guys got to be able to cover running backs. They can't come off the field on third downs. They have to be more athletic than a tailback. And this is what you have. You have a tailback standing over at linebacker with safety, corners-like skills that can play the run like a linebacker and be physical, but also in these passing spread things can walk out over a receiver, walk out on a running back or a tight end and not be worried at all as a defensive coordinator. Unbelievable athlete.
Nate, a guy that seems like he's been at Massillon forever is Jameer Thomas. He's only a junior as well.
Yeah, no offense to the seniors on this list, but I got to go with this junior here on the. You know, this guy plays both sides of the football. He's big, he's fast, and I believe and quite naturally he's going to be kind of a key piece to what Washington does during the regular season.
You look at this list, and there are some guys that really jump out. Xavier Peters from Lakota West, Kentucky. Kentucky's coming in and getting some really good players from Ohio this year.
Yeah, and Xavier Peters had the Alabama and Ohio State tape offers. He's one of those guys that when you see him in a combine setting, looks like he belongs in the NFL right now. Long body, has a lot of room to grow and add weight, but athletic again. A guy that will not come off the field. If he's not fast enough to be covering a running back, he'll be coming off the edge, rushing a tackle, pass rush skills, run stopping skills, pass coverage skills. This is why these guys are elite when they have that many dominating qualities to them.
The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education program has been recognizing students and teachers who shine both in and out of the classroom since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com and click on Supporting Education. Students in kindergarten through 12th grade are eligible to be academic all-stars. K through 12 teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible to be honored as the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Welcome back to Friday Night Huddle, Week 5 of high school football all across the Buckeye State. We've talked about Kenston and Brush. Kenston 4-0, down at halftime, but Bombers not going to go away easily. Offense moves the ball downfield. Jonathan Porter, the sophomore, fights his way into the end zone to cut into that lead, and a good job. And you see 31-19 the score, as a 12-point deficit now for the Kenston Bombers, trying to improve to 5-0. Brush trying to improve to 4-1. Either way, whomever comes away with that is going to end up with pretty nice bonus of playoff computer points there, because both teams with significant amount of wins.
No, absolutely. And, you know, actually even going into this game, they were Kinston was actually favored to win this game. But, you know, not by many points. But no, Brush, obviously, you know, all they got to do is just kind of hang on to this game right now. It's a conference game. It's a conference opponent they're playing. But Kinston, obviously, you know, they have the tools to be able to, you know, put some more points on the board. But, you know, we were also looking back at earlier, we were talking about Kinston and who they faced coming into this Brush game. It was going to be a challenge for them, so.
I mean, if you're Brush, you win this game against Kinston. You only have one loss on the resume so far. the last remaining game that's really going to test you is Chardon probably in week 8. You start thinking, hey, you know, not just playoffs, maybe home game here in Division II, Region 5, and that could be the difference between one and done and advancing.
Yeah, and you know, they Brush plays Willoughby South Thursday night, which if you're watching on Spectrum Sport, you can see in Northeast Ohio live Thursday night as Brush and Willoughby South next Thursday. So, but they have some things to take care of. It's only the third quarter. They only have a 12-point lead. So the Arcs trying to get it done. And Nate, we were talking a little bit in the break. Wadsworth now 35-14. So the Grizzlies showing they're for real.
You know, Wadsworth was not. Let's just go ahead and get it out there now. It's out there in print. Wadsworth wasn't ranked as high in our Suburban League rankings. And right now, they're proving that right now they are a pretty stout team right now.
Where were they ranked, Nate?
God, I'll have to go look. I'll get it for the break. I'll get it for the break. But I don't, you know, right now, I mean, we still had the favorites of Stowe and Hudson being number 1 and 2, and everything else was kind of just, you know, we're just going to see what happens. I think Twinsburg was in that mix and so forth. So, you know, a lot of talent in the Suburban League National Division. But Wadsworth, I mean, man, they are really showing off right now because as we remember, 5-5 last year.
Right.
And right now they're showing off. They're showing now that, hey, you know, we learned what we needed to from Coach now, and we're going to take another step further now. So
yeah, you know, I did get to see them. They beat Twinsburg late in the year last year. Did it on a special teams play, a blocked punt. But you could see, you know, they had a lot of young guys. You know, you have a quarterback who is an elite wrestler. You're going to have some mental toughness inside that huddle.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's some things that, you know, are great. That's a huge plus. And you know, we heard Coach Todd last week say, you know, he's another 2-3 inches taller. He's an elite quarterback. You know, but yeah, that's a team you don't want any part of. If you're doing that to Stowe, this team's for real.
I mean, you came in tonight and you're like, all right, so Wadsworth is sitting here at 4-0, and they went 5-5 last year. Cute story, right? But the teams that they've beaten, combined record of 3-13. Okay, their offense is averaging 50 points per game. They can't keep that pace up against a team like Stowe that hasn't allowed more than 21 in a game, despite playing Solon, despite playing North Royalton, Lake Catholic. And here's Wadsworth making the biggest statement of the night, I would think. We talk about validating your record all the time, and this is the way that you validate a 4-0 start. This is the way that you start turning the corner.
Yeah, without question. Well, we're going to head back to the phones. We showed you the touchdown from Brush. Bryant Kaiser is at that game. Brush and Kenston. Bryant, what's going on with the Arcs and the Bombers?
Oh, we got a good one going. 31-26 in the third. Arcs scored first in the third quarter to make it 31-13, but the Bombers came back with 2 quick touchdowns, and we got a shootout going here. What do you expect from the Arcs and the Bombers?
Brian, you always have those games. Have you noticed that? Anywhere we send you, it ends up being 45-37, and it's going to come down to the end. Hey, what is?
That's why I like it.
What has Kenston been able to do in the second half to get this game back to a one-possession game?
They run the ball pretty well with Porter, and they have a couple of in-around plays by number 13, Kenneth Smith. So they playing good defense too. They backing Arcs up on they making it impossible with these 2nd and 20 situations, and Kingston got that momentum. It's homecoming. How can you lose a homecoming game? You know.
Well, there is that. Have they stopped kind of hurting themselves? That's kind of what we talked about in the first half. The turnovers that really led to that. Have they eliminated those?
Oh yeah, they eliminated those, and they really turning over Arcs right now. The quarterback, Goodwin, just got sacked, so it's another 2nd and long situation for him.
All right, Bryant Kaiser, we appreciate the update. We will.
And they're cramping up. It's hot out here. might need a pickle juice.
Do you have the pickle juice up in the press box?
They're scoring again. The Bombers taking a lead on a pickoff.
So there you have it.
Number 13 again.
Pick 6.
And the Bombers take the lead, 32-31.
Wow. All right. So there, the comeback has now gone full circle as the unbeaten Kenston Bombers take the lead on the pick 6. Bryant Kaiser, we appreciate it. We'll check back in with Bryant as that game continues. You know, teams that are unbeaten don't like to have that 0 move.
Yeah, and you know, guys, I want to go back to something that Kenston head coach Jeff Grubich said following the win against East Lake North last week. He said, quote, "It was a valuable learning experience to be in a tight game. It was the first time this team was squeezed into a 48-minute game." He felt like things were a little bit too easy for his team in the first 3 weeks. They play the tight game against East Lake North, and I think that allows them to get down against a team like Brush, team that's 3-1, and then all of a sudden they can come back and they can take the lead because they played in that tight game. They got that experience that they needed, and here they are in a dogfight again.
But I guessing he probably didn't want to be down
Probably
at
not,
half
but
like he was, but
No, but and both teams are have very capable offenses, and so one of the keys that I had coming into this game, because they're so talented on both offensive sides, is keeping those turnovers down.
Mm-hmm.
And as we can see, that's what's kind of shaping out this game right now, because it's getting out of hand for Brush now. So I'm wondering how they're going to respond after this last score here. Put them up 32-31.
You know, we touched on this earlier. Both Jeff Fink, head coach at Brush, Jeff Grubich, head coach for Kenston, were co-offensive coordinators on the same team for Steve Trevisano. So they're running the same offense, basically.
Yeah, offense,
the same
yeah.
tree. They know what each other is going to do. It's a matter of, can you stop it?
Right, and I think the other thing, anytime you talk about Steve Trevisano, anytime you talk about Menor, you think points.
Yeah.
Points, and it's 32-31. So there you go. That's what you expect when these two teams play.
And now the question is, what's going to be the good defense? The defense showing up, or a good offense down the stretch here? So, you know.
You know, the other thing that starts creeping into the minds of Brush guys right now is, not again.
Yeah.
You know, you haven't won. You're 0-8 against this team. So that's the thing that you have to fight if you're on that sideline for Brush. You get that out of your head. You go out and play. There's a reason you had the lead. Go do it.
And you can't pump up Kenston anymore for this game. It's homecoming. You know, they were down. You know, they want to have something good they want to talk about for the rest of the weekend. So, again, 32-31
Yep.
in this game right now. And so we're going to see what happens, see how Brush is going to be able to respond after that play.
So, again, Kenston down at half, comes back, takes the lead. We had started talking a little bit about Wadsworth and Stowe. Let's shift gears a little bit. Bedford-Massillon. So Bedford finding a way to hang in. You know, they fall behind a couple of scores, they cut into it. They fall behind a couple of scores again, cut back into it at halftime. You know, if you're Sean Williams, you got to go and get, guys, we got to stop.
Yeah.
Again, we got to stop hurting ourselves.
Yeah.
You can't do that against good teams, and that's what had happened. The turnovers kind of, Bedford had to overcome them.
And I talked about that in the first hour. We were just talking about Bedford in the same sentence with turnovers. But, you know, at the same time, you know, as a defense for the defense, you know, Ryan brought it up. He said, look, hey, you know, the defense has been kind of cornered in some awkward situations in this game. And so, you know, once the defense is able to kind of like maybe get out of those corners, you know, maybe they might be able to help out the offense. But right now, the offense is not helping them getting in these awkward situations right now. So, you know, again, turnovers is going to be kind of key in this late one, because both teams are very talented on offense and they need to figure this out. So,
and when you have a great offense like Bedford, it can be a blessing and a curse. It's great because you feel like you can come from behind and you're never out of a game and you're used to scoring 35, 40 points or something along those lines. But at the same time, you fall into, okay, we've done it before, so we can do it again. If we turn the ball over, no big deal. Our offense will go out there and our offense will pick us up. It's a dangerous game to play. It's great to have that offense, but you know, at some point, those little things have to stop for Bedford.
Let's take a look at Hoban and St. Vincent St. Mary. We saw Hoban take the lead on the long touchdown pass from Shane Ham to Garrett Hauser. And as we see Hoban taking on St. Vincent St. Mary. And again, Hoban's offense back at it. Power I, Tyrus Dickerson following the block, and he is gone. Touchdown, and that puts him up 2 scores inside of 5 minutes remaining. A huge hole for Tyrus Dickerson as Hoban opening up a 2-score lead.
And this was supposed to be the different year. You know, Clark is gone from Hoban, so St. Vincent St. Mary's thinking, okay, the guy that has beaten us 4 times in a row, we don't have to contend with him anymore. All we have to worry about is a freshman quarterback. If we've got a chance to go out and get him, it's probably this year. We're undefeated going into this game, and yet it's been the same old story.
And Jaden Baxter, number 74, just opened up a hole that I could have run through, and I'm not nearly as fast as Tyrus Dickerson.
Yeah.
Take a look at 74 out here. There's the block, and actually Tranium also got a block in, but that was a well-designed play. There's Baxter pulling. And that's not a good feeling when that guy who he goes 6 foot 270 and can move, and a nice block to spring Tyrus Dickerson. And now the hole's pretty big for St. Vincent St. Mary, down 2 scores, down 14 with just 5 minutes remaining.
And one of the keys that I was looking at this game was that how was Hoban going to be able to play at the offensive line? We know that they have the size. We know they have the experience coming back. But just they were going to have to win at this line in order for Hoban to get a win against St. Vincent St. Mary. And obviously they got a chance to show that off, and also with their backfield mates as well, being able to block, make a couple blocks down the stretch there. So.
Yeah, that offensive line for Hoban pretty good. Well, we're going to step aside and take a quick timeout. Krista DeFini, our band correspondent, takes us to break. Friday Night Huddle will be right back on cleveland.com and Spectrum Sports.
At the end of the game, it was 48-0. The Blue Devils won. The Fairport band is doing the blast, and thank you so much for having me, Fairport.
Thanks for coming out.
This city, this club stands with you.
Danger from Mira! That is awesome!
What you live for lives here.
The volley, Kamara, yes!
Ohio's television home of Columbus Crew SC. Spectrum Sports, exclusively on Spectrum. Wednesday nights. Get ready for kickoff with Spectrum Sports. High School Blitz Preview. The can't-miss show for all things high school football. We'll break down team news, the latest standings, and what to expect on the road to Canton. High School Blitz Preview. Wednesday nights at 7 on Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum.
The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education program has been recognizing students and teachers who shine both in and out of the classroom since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com and click on Supporting Education. Students in kindergarten through 12th grade are eligible to be academic all-stars. K through 12 teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible to be honored as the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Have you ever lived for something? Have you ever dreamt of something? Something more? Something special? Something bigger than yourself? Well, have you? This is what you live for!
Home of high school sports. Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum.
Welcome back to Friday Night Huddle, Week 5 of high school football all across the Buckeye State. Games are starting to take shape and approaching going final. What's kind of jumped out? We'll start with you here in Week 5.
Me?
You?
Me? Okay.
I'm throwing a curveball.
I think two things. I think Mentor's dominance against Brunswick in a series that has been really, really tight over the last 3 years, no matter how Brunswick is playing, no matter how Mentor is playing. The last 3 meetings between the two teams before tonight was decided by 23 total points. So Mentor is a team that looks like is kicking it into gear going into the second half of their schedule, and then the playoffs right around the corner. Balanced offense now with a running game to go with it. And then I think Wadsworth, again, we came into tonight and we said, okay, this is a team that has beaten teams with a record of 3-13. They're averaging 50 points per game. How good are they, really? Cute story. They won 5 games last year. They're not even in cleveland.com's top 25 Nate. And here they are whooping on a team that was undefeated coming into tonight's game, and Stowe, a Division I team.
Well, I was going to bring up Wadsworth. Yeah, I mean, if I have to grab a game here, I'm probably looking at this Hoban and St. V game. I think just the way this game started to look like it was going to come down to maybe a big player or special teams member to be able to do this, and obviously that's the case what had happened. But I think probably the next one probably is this Bedford and Massillon game. Even though there's still time to play in this game, I felt like this was two offenses that, you know, if you were going to pay for a ticket to go see a game, this was one of those games. But right now, I just don't like how Bedford was kind of backed into a corner I was mentioning earlier, and they're having to try to fend for themselves and not try to limit Massillon from scoring. But I think those two games are two games that stand out to me, and obviously Wadsworth. You know, we'll figure that out. So.
Oh, will you?
You actually took both of mine.
Okay.
You know, the fact that Mentor put 42 on the board in the first, or 49, I'm sorry, on the board in the first half. Shocked me. You know, I thought it would be. I didn't think it was going to be as close as it had been, but I certainly didn't see that coming. And I thought Wadsworth was a really good team. Didn't see them handling Stowe in that manner.
Right.
It's a sign of just, you know, that program has come a long way in a short time under Coach Todd.
Yeah, and going back to St. Vincent St. Mary and Hoban, what was the issue with St. Vincent St. Mary last year in the 2 meetings against Hoban? They just did not have enough offense. 2 meetings against Hoban, 7 total points. Tonight, what has been the issue for St. Vincent St. Mary? They just can't get enough offense against that Hoban defense. 7 points once again. They got on the board, and you're starting to think, okay, maybe this is a little bit different. Maybe they have something more offensively. Turns out, it's the same old story.
Well, you know, that big pass play kind of broke, you know, that's...
Oh, it did. You're right, it did.
You know...
It opened up the game.
The coverage was pretty good. I mean, it wasn't like he got behind the defender, hammed threw the ball up, and your D1 guy, Hauser, who's going to the Naval Academy, went out and made a play with the defender there. And I think that kind of took a lot of the wind out of St. Vincent. You know, it's kind of like we do everything right, and they still find a way to get on the board. And you know, that was a struggle from there.
I'd like to go back to the Wadsworth topic we were talking about.
Sure?
Yes, I'd love to go back to it because
I think there's a grizzly bear waiting for him in the parking lot.
No, we actually Matt and I, you know, we usually communicate over the weekends to try to figure out, hey man, you know, what stood out to you over the weekend.
Right.
And we actually look at Wadsworth. If you look at their schedule and the opponents that they played, a lot of these teams were either at this point right now either 1-3 or 0-4.
Right.
So a lot of questions we really weren't sure about what kind of Grizzly team we were getting out of this season. Joey Boffman is a great talent as well, but we just really weren't sure. Now, obviously, with a win against an undefeated Stowe Bulldogs team right now, we're going to probably be talking probably about 7 a.m. on Saturday morning about this. So. But,
Chris wants to be conferenced in on that.
Yeah,
call.
I know. Can you bring me in?
You sure?
Last year it was the Federal League. I think
exactly
you
right.
have become the Suburban League, small school. You've moved on. You're now
Yes.
they do have a commissioner though. So I don't know if you can take that post.
And one thing I want to point out in just the shape of the Suburban League, which is interesting, I was looking at the top 5 that we ranked in that national division. Hudson, Stowe, Nordonia, Twinsburg, Wadsworth. And just look at Nordonia and the shape that they're in right now. These, obviously, you can see at Nordonia and Wadsworth, these are 2 teams we were like, they should fare this way. But now the way things are going at week 5 right now, they may have switched it here.
And not a huge story, not a big surprise, but Bay, now 5-0. I am a resident of Bay, so I got to give a shout out to Bay. Not only are they 5-0, but they set up that big showdown at home next week against Rocky River. That's a big one. Rocky River came into tonight 3-1. So if River wins and they go to 4-1, now you got 5-0, 4-1. Bay against Rocky River, always a big one.
Our student reporter, Matt Gansers, you're stepping on his toes a little bit there, Chris.
I didn't mean to. Sorry, Matt. I know we sent you out there for a reason, but final came in. Had to give some love to the Marching Rockets, weren't they? Is that right?
They were the Marching Rockets a couple weeks ago. So.
Matt Ganser, one of our really good student reporters, I'm sure he usually has Coach Rutt, so I'm sure he's working on that as the goes. Let's, as a matter of fact, see Matt Ganser. We're going to check in with Matt Ganser, who has this report on the Bay Rockets, and Chris has already told us they've been victorious. Take it away, Matt.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with head coach of the Bay High Rockets, Coach Ron Rutt. Okay, Coach Rutt. So what do you think the key to the success of tonight's 38-15 win was on the defensive side of the ball?
Playing team defense. Every guy's got their assignment, and they took care of their job, and it really showed out there on the field. Trey Pasota did a nice job. Vladimir Miskovic played some great outside linebacker. Dylan Berry and RJ are some tremendous safeties, and Max Showalter just keeps making big plays. He had another great interception for us tonight.
So, offense, you guys scored 38 points. What do you think was key in your game plan in putting up 38 points?
I thought our schemes were good as far as just the way we wanted to attack their defensive front, and then the execution from our offensive line has been great this year. Sean Heilhoff and Tommy Koss on our quick side are really two great offensive linemen for us, and then of course the O'Doherty brothers on the strong side. They're a pretty big pair to deal with.
So I know you guys forced a couple more turnovers this week. You forced a couple last week. I know you guys have started to generate turnovers. What do you think has caused that?
I don't really know what causes it, but it's something that we've been stressing a lot, to the team pregame and in practice. Early in the season in our scrimmages, I thought we lost the turnover battle a couple times, and I think that maybe was a learning experience for us as to how important it is to win the turnover battle. So,
all right. Thank you for your time.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
Matt Ganser, our student reporter, you notice poised, doesn't miss a beat, bats the ball away from the coach. He has set the bar pretty high for student reporters. And in all seriousness, Matt Ganser, that's a great job.
That's what we do in Bay.
So you taught him everything he knows.
No, he certainly had no hand in that whatsoever.
But that they had a big win over a university school playoff team.
Yep.
And it does set up very nicely for their big rivalry game against Rocky River next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Just really quickly with Bay, I mean, they just nearly squeaked into the playoffs last year. And the first team that they draw, Toledo Central Catholic.
Yeah.
And so just for readers who don't know about Toledo Central Catholic, I mean, they're a powerhouse out in the Toledo area. But
Deshaun Kaiser's alma mater.
Yeah. Browns trying to bring the luck there, but yeah. But no, but Bay is off to a great start right now, and Trey Pasota is just really helping that offense. And I think everyone already knows that they're a run team, and they do it very well. So hats off to Bay for winning tonight, and also to Matt as well for the Dikembe Mutombo move there. So.
Not
but that's
on my
what you
coach.
Like. That's what you like from a program, right? In an era where everybody is going like 4 and 5 wide, and they're spreading it out, and they're trying to throw it all over the yard, playing huck-a-chuck. Bay's like, hey, we can't play huck-a-chuck. We got to run the ball. We know who we are. This is what got us to the playoffs last year. This is what has gotten us to a 5-0 start. So finding your identity and sticking with your identity, that's the key of a successful team, and Bay is going to continue to rely on the ground game and a defense, and that's their formula. It's not always pretty. I've been to a lot of games. They can be sloggy at times, but it works for them, and that's what they have to have with the kids that they have.
You just keep stringing the little W's together, and at the end of the year, it looks pretty.
Right, right. I mean, there's no picture, no win-loss record, none at all.
And style points don't ever count.
Yep.
So. You know, the flip side of the Hoban St. Vincent St. Mary game is, and we have alluded to it, Hoban's now in Division II. St. Vincent St. Mary is in Division III. St. Vincent St. Mary, that's a team you really don't want a whole lot of part of if you're in that Division III playoff picture. And Hoban, you know, they hung with what is the top-ranked team in the state by some accounts in St. Ignatius. Lost 17-7 in Week 1 with a 9th grader making his first start. So Division II might not want to be seeing any part of Hoban. They look like they're every bit as good as they have been, and they've got some new big linemen who are moving people out of the way as well. You know, you've got Rumler, who's a junior. He's going to Michigan already. R.J. Kelly, the center, he's going to Akron. And now this Baker kid is just as big and just as athletic. So that's a frightening line if you're a Division II school.
Yeah, and one thing I'm glad that you pointed out was just the region that they play in. I was trying to make sure I get the list here. Hudson, Benedictine, Bedford, Twinsburg, Barberton. These are some teams that they're going to have to compete with, and right now that looks like they're showing that, you know, hey, we moved a division, but we still got the tools, so.
Yeah, I guarantee you those teams don't want to see Hoban Week 1 of the playoffs.
Nope.
None of those teams want to see him.
Nope, not at all. I mean, guys, Division II, Region 5 is turning into something very similar to Division I, Region 1, where you start looking at a team that maybe has 3 or 4 losses, like really, really limiting their chances of getting to the postseason. I mean, it is almost a demand that you win 7 or 8 games to get into the playoffs because of how deep and talented that division and that region is.
And, you know, Hoban was kind of towards the bottom of that because they lost. You get no points. No matter how close they played St. Ignatius, you get no points for that. And they have beaten some Division III schools, and that's not going to necessarily help them get up into the top 3 or 4. So you may end up getting a home field advantage, playing really well, and hey, the Hoban Knights are coming to visit you in Week 1 of the playoffs.
And that's what always helps Hudson. If you look at it, they play Austintown Fitch, Division I, Region 1, Strongsville, Division I, Region 1, Canton McKinley, Division I, Region 1. So when you go up in competition and you start playing Division I, Region 1 teams and you get those secondary points, it's hard to knock Hudson off that top because of that. You know, some of the other teams in D2 Region 5, they don't have that kind of luxury. Hoban certainly doesn't because they didn't beat St. Ignatius in their opportunity, so it's going to be harder for Hoban to make up those points.
Well, and they play Division 4 and Division 5. You know, they play Ursuline and they play Mooney. Very good football teams, but they just don't have the computer points that the Division 1, Region 1 schools do. Let's check back in with Bryant Kaiser. He's at a wild one, as he always is. Brush and Kenston, what's going on, Bryant?
Talking about a 35-point third quarter. And we just got to the fourth quarter, and the Bombers lead 41-38.
Wow. Okay, so the scoreboard, are all the lights still working on the scoreboard out there in Kenston?
I think the one has lost a couple of digits. I mean, it's been up and down, up and down.
So
we might get to 60 before this game's over.
Neither defense really able to stop the other here in the third quarter, then, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, a lot of short field scoring, touchdowns. And like I said, we had that pick six. And when I got off you, they went long. Bombers went long, 57 yards to the other receiver. And then the Bombers and Arcs came back down and scored a touchdown just after the third quarter ended. So, and
Brian,
now the Arcs got the football right back. So this game ain't over.
Brian, what was it that turned things around for Kenston's offense? Because it seemed like a slow start for them.
Well, their defense turned around, making a short field for their offense to get it going. And their running back, Johnny Porter, he is tearing up the field right now. He didn't get it going in the first half, but in the second half, in the third quarter, he has really gotten it going, picking up big chunks of yards. Feel like the Brush's defense is getting tired. You see the hands on the hips, and they asking for some oxygen. Both teams, they ain't gonna be some tired guys tomorrow.
And you're going to be tired as well. We're wearing you out with the scoring and long games here. We'll check back in with Bryant Kaiser at the Brush-Kenston game. And Johnny Porter, just a sophomore. So good-looking running back, getting it rolling for the Bombers. You know, we talked about it. Those unbeaten teams, they tend to not go down very easily.
Absolutely, and there's still a few out there that's still hiding around. You know, we've talked about Stowe, we've talked about Wadsworth. Kenston is showing off that they, you're right. They don't want to have that loss right now, especially in a conference game right now where you have teams like Chardon and so forth. And so, anything they can do, especially on homecoming night, they want to try to get a win tonight. So,
other thing that's a good sign, we had touched on, Brush hasn't beat them, 0-8 against them, right. And it's good to see the Arcs just keep coming. If you're Coach Fink, you're pretty happy about that. Jeff Fink has to be happy that at the fight his Arcs are showing.
And when you have a quarterback like Joe, that's the kind of guy that you want to be able to maximize, and you want to take advantage of the times that you have him. I mean, we're talking about a player of the week from the News Herald, reigning player of the week, 500 yards passing, about 130 yards on the ground, accounting for 6 touchdowns. Like, when you have that kind of kid in your program, you have to make sure you capitalize on that.
Yeah, you put the ball in his hand and say, go make something good happen.
That's why we have you. That's why we're going to continue to rely on you.
Good. Yeah, and, neither of these teams are going to go down without a fight. I mean, just like when I was telling you earlier, this game is going to be settled by 4 points. So, it's just going to be who's going to make that play down the stretch here.
Maybe who has the ball last.
Yeah, might be.
It's a lot of times that happens. We touched on it earlier with Austin Opfer. Benedictine, that's a team that only won a couple of games a year ago, lost a number of games by 7 points or less. Matter of fact, I think all of their losses were by 7 points or less. Mm-hmm. And now that they've got it rolling in the right direction, it's good to see. Carter Wheelo, head coach there, young head coach, and Bengals are another team. They're in that Division II because of the competitive balance piece of it. So, be aware of the Bengals.
Yeah, I think that's the other team that has been kind of surprised to me tonight, Dave, and I'm glad that you brought them up because I kind of went into tonight saying, okay, I'm going to dig into Bishop Watterson and I'm going to see what that 1-3 record really means. And you see a loss against a 4-0 team, a bunch of Division I kids on Olentangy Orange. And then you see another loss against a 4-0 team and you're like, wait a minute, that 1-3 record might be a little bit deceiving. And then you dig into Benedictine and you say, okay, this is a team that won 3 games last year. They've already matched their win total. How good really are they? How are they going to bounce back from a significant loss against Erie Cathedral Prep? And they've answered questions tonight. And I think it shows that the program is going in the right direction and they're making progress. When you can beat a team and you can handle a team that beat you last year, that's kind of like your jumping off point of, okay, how far have we come? We lost 10-7 last year against Watterson, and here we are putting in this kind of performance. It shows the growth.
And for those not familiar, Erie Cathedral Prep, really, really good football program year in and year out. They compete in Pennsylvania, in that area. It's a Catholic system, and they're one of the big playoff teams in that region or that playoff system every year. So they're contenders every year. So certainly no shame in the Bengals losing to that program. That's a really good program. you know, the other thing is Avon, you know, they just keep on keeping on. As you know, they opened up the lead on Midview. Mike Elder, for whatever reason, just seems to have that knack for getting into that game when he needs it.
This game couldn't be any tighter. This game couldn't mean any more to these teams than tonight. Both in the same region, both with undefeated records here, and they both want this conference title as well. But Avon and Midview, I mean, you know, the last 4 or 5 years we've been talking about, they've held this conference title. And so this means a lot to these two programs. They both have talented offenses. But yeah, whoever gets a win in this game was obviously going to be able to have an edge on the other as we move into the playoff hunt. So.
Well, we are approaching the time when games are going final. Top plays will be lurking around, but right now we're going to take a quick timeout here on Friday Night Huddle, along with Nate Klein from cleveland.com, Chris Vidor from cleveland.com. I'm Dave Bacon. We will be back with more of Week 5 of Friday Night Huddle here on Spectrum Sports and cleveland.com.
Wednesday nights, get ready for kickoff with Spectrum Sports. High School Blitz Preview. The can't-miss show for all things high school football. We'll break down team news, the latest standings, and what to expect on the road to Canton. High School Blitz Preview. Wednesday nights at 7 on Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to 101 Reasons to Watch Friday Night Huddle in the fall, along with Mark Porter from scoutingohio.com and Nate Klein from cleveland.com. I'm Dave Bacon. Guys, 101 Reasons, it's the players. Let's take a look at some of the quarterbacks who will be dominating Ohio this year, and we'll begin with a guy that really started and filled in for St. Xavier and allowed them to win a state championship in Division I a year ago, Chase Wolf.
Yeah, that program always produces quarterbacks, and you're right, he was injured for a little bit, had to take some time to get it. The guy in front of him's headed to Penn State last year, so can you believe 2 Big Ten quarterbacks on the same roster? But again, if you saw Chase Wolf at camps, like you watch him off the field, boy, can he spin the ball. And, you know, a perfect spiral is an underrated thing. This kid can throw a perfect spiral, high level of accuracy. Then you throw in how he grew up and got stronger, and then the power and everything else came with his balls. Probably the best quarterback in Ohio this year, but there's a couple other guys that are a close second when it comes to that talent.
Nate, we talk about some Northeast Ohio guys, and Jaden Cunningham from University School, maybe a little bit under the radar, even in Northeast Ohio, threw for over 2,300 yards a season ago.
I think what really helped his case was during the playoffs, as far as the Preppers went in that. But he has experience now. He's a dual threat quarterback. I even had one person tell me he's already comparing him to Troy Smith, which is, you know, very big to say that. But Jaden Cunningham brings a lot of intangibles together. He has a big arm, and he showed that off this past season.
2,300 yards passing, over 1,300 yards rushing, and 34 total touchdowns for Cunningham. Another guy to keep an eye on, LaSalle's Griffin Merritt. Was a quarterback who led them to a state championship a year ago.
Yeah, and that's one of those systems where you just got to drive that bus. There's so much talent there. They have one of the best tight ends in the country, 2 great running backs, where he was a system guy, put up a lot of great numbers, didn't turn the ball over, and of course LaSalle ends up in the state championship year after year. he's the leader of that team, especially when it comes to getting things going on offense.
Another couple of guys that I know you like, Mark, one from Northwest Ohio, one from the southern part of the state. Brennan Armstrong from Shelby is headed to Minnesota.
Yeah, and you know what? He got an early offer as a freshman in high school, which brought us all to Shelby, a smaller school. And then he grew up to be a man. As we followed him throughout his camps career, sophomore year, you saw a little bit more. Junior year at camps, he's one of the biggest, strongest arm guys there. Again, spins the ball well, high level of accuracy, and then he's a better athlete than people give him credit. Sometimes when he'd take off for all those touchdowns, you'd say level of competition. He destroyed the level of competition with his legs. That's why he's a Big Ten quarterback right now.
P.J. Fleck, of course, at Minnesota, so a guy that had some success at Western Michigan. You talk about Jay Volpenheim. I know you like him a lot from Anderson.
Yeah, he was one of my highest-rated quarterbacks, and not because of the yards and all the touchdowns, which he had a ton of them, but the ball jumps off his hand, and that's what you look for as a scout. You want to see that ball high velocity, and again, repeated level of accuracy. He had some nice targets, a tight end that would go down the field for him. Made a lot of plays with that arm, and I expect to see him make a deep run in the playoffs this year also.
The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education program has been recognizing students and teachers who shine both in and out of the classroom since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com and click on Supporting Education. Students in kindergarten through 12th grade are eligible to be academic all-stars. K through 12 teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible to be honored as the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Welcome back to Friday Night Huddle, along with Chris Fedor and Nate Klein from cleveland.com. I'm Dave Bacon. Let's get to the phones. Bryant Kaiser is at the Wild One. Kenston, 4-0 on the year, taking on 3-1 Brush. What's going on, Bryant?
Now, Brush has scored 14 points in a row. They're taking the lead right back. It's 45-41. Markel Tony with a 6-yard touchdown reception. We got 5 minutes to go. I think the first one to 50 should win. What you think?
Sounds like a guy that wants to get his story written.
What is this, the Big Three basketball league? First to 50, win by 2?
Yeah.
All right, Bryant, we'll let you get back to that one, and we will check
I'll call you back in 2 minutes.
45-41. Brush, a great job coming back. So,
yep.
Great job of the offense. The defense, well, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next week.
When we get back to film.
No, absolutely. I mean, yeah, the coaches are going to be talking about that defense after this game. They're going to be talking about over the weekend, like, you know, we need to shore this up, especially in this conference where we have, you know, teams like Chardon, Eastlake North. You know, we need to clean this up. So, but yeah, we're going to see how this plays out. But I even pointed out the predictions are probably spot on, 4 points. So we'll see.
Okay, all right.
Look at that. You look at it, and Solon has defeated Strongsville by 14, 28-14. So the Comets get it done, and you know, they move on. No style points in that league. You survive week to week, and you move on to the next one. So it was a battle. They got an interception and scored late in the game to push that to a 14-point win. A nice win, 200th win of his career for Coach McQuaid. So Solon, a good job. And Stowe, cut into that. It's now 35-21 with about 7 minutes left in the game as Wadsworth leading Stowe now by 14. So the Bulldogs trying to get back into that thing.
I mean, Solon's an interesting team, I think, because if you look at that schedule and what they have coming up. Now, Brunswick struggled big time with Menor tonight, but Brunswick is there on the schedule next week. Then you talk about Euclid. Then you talk about Menor, who is clicking right now, absolutely rolling. Shaker Heights is there. The margin for error for Solon right now is very, very small. And we were talking to our correspondent, Jeff Sabo, and saying the changes that Solon has made since that loss against Stowe. And I think as they continue to go, they're going to have to find more offense here. especially to keep up with Euclid, especially to keep up with Menor. If you're going to be a playoff team in Division I, Region I, you're going to have to find more consistent offense. And it's been an interesting season from Solon's standpoint that they haven't been able to find that yet.
Well, two teams with some big play offense going at it is Massillon and Bedford down at Paul Brown Tiger Stadium. Ryan Isley joins us with an update. What's going on, Ryan?
Hey, guys, can we just erase my earlier call-in where I said that the Bedford defense was playing pretty well? Because that has completely changed as this game has gone on. From the minute I called that in, Bedford's defense has been giving up touchdown after touchdown. Massillon scores 4 touchdowns in the third quarter alone to take a 56-30 lead after 3 quarters.
Ryan, this is Nate in the studio. You know, earlier you were talking about the Bedford defense just kind of being put in some awkward situations. How do you explain this second half here?
A lot of it, you know, Nate, I'm almost willing to blame it on the fact that this is the first time, guys, all season, we've had really warm temperatures. I have to wonder how much being on the field, as long as they've been on the field tonight, has started to wear them down, especially in this heat. Because if you remember, the first 4 weeks of the season, we were relatively cool, almost like October weather in August. And now we hit August, September. You hit the end of September, and now we've got 85, 90-degree weather. I'm wondering how much that's playing a factor because it just looks like they're dead tired out there. Every time Massillon gets it, they're just picking up big chunks of yards on each play. And if they get inside the 5, they're just pounding it down Bedford's throat and scoring touchdowns. It's a very impressive performance by this Massillon offense. And again, I think Bedford defense just not getting any favors from their offense, being put in bad spots and being on the field as much as they have.
Yeah, I mean, we realize that the Bearcats have a big play offense, but 56 points, and they're just starting the fourth quarter. So, you know, Sean Williams will not be pleased with his defense.
No, guys, and he shouldn't be. Even if they're being put in bad positions, they're just making bad plays. They're missing tackles. They're missing assignments. I mean, there are a lot of plays. I was down on their sideline for the first half, and I've kind of moved upstairs for the second half. But during the first half, you could see him just yelling at the defense, you know, to get their heads in the game, to make tackles, to know their assignments, know their guy. And next thing you know, the guy runs right by him again for a big touchdown. And that's what Massillon's done all night. It's been that big play offense. You remember Bedford, again, over 700 yards of total offense last week. So I'm wondering if Massillon said during the week, hey, we're going to have to match that tonight. Yeah. We have to put up yardage, and we're going to have to put up a lot of points on this team because this Massillon offense has just come out firing. I mean, guys, I feel like this is like a Wednesday night MAC game. There's very little defense, and there's a heck of a lot of offense.
Has it been Longwell that's gotten it done? What have the Tigers done offensively?
It's been Longwell. It's been Thomas. It's been Zion Pfeiffer. It's been the run game and the pass game. I mean, the last drive that Massillon scored on, Pfeiffer got a big run to start it. Thomas got a couple of big runs down the middle, and then Pfeiffer scored from 1 yard out. And the drive before that, Longwell with another touchdown pass to Kutcher. So they're doing it through the air and on the ground tonight. Their defense, I think, is going to be less talked about, even though they've given up 30 points tonight. Their defense has actually not played poorly. They've put themselves in good position. They forced a couple of turnovers on downs. That's how they got the blowback last time. They fourth down, snap over the Bedford quarterback's head, and they had no chance to make a play. Massillon gets it, goes bing, bing, boom, scores a touchdown, and all of a sudden we're sitting at 56-30. And we're all just sitting here looking at each other going, where did this come from?
Ryan, I have one more question here for you, just in reference to the Bedford defense and just from your observations. Has Bedford, been trying to take some gambles against some of those receivers, maybe trying to jump routes at all? Because, obviously they have some speedy guys, they have some very athletic guys, but I'm just curious, have they been trying to test that quarterback at all?
I don't think they're trying to jump the routes. I really think that they're playing back and they're forcing Longwell to make good throws. He's just making really good throws. And again, they've missed a couple of coverages. I think that what's happened is cornerback is looking for safety help over the top. The safety had other ideas. All of a sudden, the corner plays off the receiver. Receiver's wide open for a touchdown. And unfortunately for Bedford's defense, while the passing game for Massillon is working, so is the running game. So the corners and safeties have to be careful on the run game as well. So they're just setting it up nicely. Massillon is playing this game to perfection, using the pass to set up the run and then using the run to set up the pass. And Bedford's defense just hasn't been able to pick up on what Massillon's going to do.
All right, Ryan Isley, we appreciate it. Massillon, 56 points in 3 quarters with a big lead on Bedford. Well, we showed you the Hoban Knights 21-7 winners over St. Vincent St. Mary. Dave Wilson and Ryan Kavanaugh called the game on Spectrum Sports, and they have this post-game wrap-up. Take it away, guys.
Friday night at InfoCision Stadium in Akron, Archbishop Hoban defeated Akron St. Vincent St. Mary by a score of 21-7. David Wilson along with Ryan Kavanaugh. We called it here on Spectrum Sports. And Ryan, it was the Tyrus Dickerson show. 193 yards rushing tonight, 38 more yards receiving. He was a force, scored 2 big touchdowns in the ball game, and Hoban goes to 4-1.
It was the first touchdown, and it was the last touchdown. And in between, it was all Tyrus Dickerson. Shane Ham, freshman quarterback making his first start in this big rivalry game, really leaned on Tyrus Dickerson, and he got behind their big offensive line. Hoban, if you haven't seen Hoban's offensive line, you gotta watch this game because they're very dominant. And when they have Tyrus Dickerson running the way he is, it makes everything easier for the freshman Shane Ham, but it makes their team very difficult to stop.
Well, the Hoban defense held and bottled up a very dynamic St. Vincent St. Mary offense, held them to 7 points, and now in the last 3 games, the Hoban defense has allowed just 1 touchdown, and tonight, DeMonte Trainum was all over the field making plays.
The sophomore, recently offered by Alabama, University of Michigan, and basically wherever he wants to go to school, he will. He showed why. He's extremely fast. He's got a nose for the football, and he led a Hoban Knight defense that held St. Vincent St. Mary and their terrific sophomore running back Terrence Keys to 60 yards rushing in the game. But the 2 important stats to me was 3 for 15 on 3rd down and 1 of 5 on 4th down. So combined 4 of 20 on those very key downs, and that's where I think Hoban really took over against the St. V offense.
Both teams 4-1 now at the halfway point of the season. For Ryan Kavanaugh, David Wilson, reporting for Spectrum Sports.
You see the final, 21-7. St. Vincent St. Mary falls to Hoban. We appreciate it, Dave and Ryan. Well, we mentioned earlier, Solon, 28-14 win over Strongsville. Jeff Sabo, hardest working guy in TV, as he talked to Jim McQuaid and Thomas Wilkes. Take it away, Jeff.
Head coach Jim McQuaid, oh my goodness, 200 career wins. How did you get to this point?
I've had a lot of coaches that have helped me. I've worked with a lot of great coaches. I've had coached a lot of great players. It's never just one person, so I'm extremely lucky to be a part of a program like this and other places I've been.
And then tonight's game, definitely a hard-fought contest. Thomas Wilkes, he really stepped up in the backfield.
Well, he's done a great job all year round. He's one of our veteran guys and a guy we rely on all the time.
And then also on the defensive front, just when you thought your defense was tired, they really stepped it up.
No, we ride our defense, so our defense is the group that's going to take us through.
And then you talked about a more balanced attack. You definitely changed it up on offense, and it really helped.
Well, we made some plays, but we still got a long way to go here, Jeff.
All right, and Coach, hey, first, congratulations on your 200th career victory at Solon.
Thank you, thank you. Good.
Thomas Wilkes, this was not an easy victory against the Strongsville Mustangs. However, very rewarding as you guys came back and won this one.
Yes, very rewarding. You know, we came out with the mindset of, you know, we got homecoming tomorrow. You know, we wanted to give the fans something great. And, you know, once we win the football game, homecoming is going to be a little bit better.
And then take us through those touchdowns, not only in the first half but the second half. It really seemed like you saw the field well, and you read your blockers also.
Oh, yeah, offensive line did great today. On the longer run, Trayvon Raphael, you know, he had a great kickout block, led me up the sideline and score. And, you know, the offensive line played great, you know, opened up holes, you know, and make it easy for me just to run through them tonight.
And then obviously take us through the huddle. You know, you're tied, you have an opportunity to take the lead. What was going through the mindset in that huddle?
Oh, we just, you know, we just got to keep grinding. You know, it'll come, might not come right now, but it'll come when we need it. And when we need it, we score it.
All right, and you're going up against a Brunswick team next week on a Thursday night matchup. Are you guys worried about the short week at all?
No, you know, we're just looking at it as primetime football. Not too many schools can play on Thursday night.
All right. Hey, Thomas, as always, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and let's check in with Jeff Sabo. He joins us on the phone. Jeff, what was the difference in this? What turned this in the Comets' favor?
Well, just taking a look at what transpired in that second half, at one point the Strongsville Mustangs ended up tying it off of a Joni Major touchdown run. And then once the game was tied, the Comets fumbled the snap, and it was actually back, and then the Mustangs recovered it back deep inside Solon territory. However, on the ensuing drive, there were maybe about 4 or 5 false start penalties on the Mustangs, and then at one point they had a Taylor Griffin touchdown wiped out due to a holding call, and then there were a couple other penalties on that drive. Before you knew it, it was 4th and goal on the Comets' 28-yard line, and the Comets ended up making a key stop. Then when the Comets were on offense, you had Thomas Wilkes off of a play that really was only designed to be a short gain. He went out over to the outside, and then 85 yards later, he was into the end zone. So he scored a touchdown right there. And then the Mustangs ended up getting the ball late in the fourth quarter, and the Major dropped back to pass. Didn't see Zion Mowry there at all, as Mowry, who I mentioned this a lot during the SETV broadcast. He's actually part of Solon's Music and Motion, the show choir at the Solon High School, and he definitely danced his way into the end zone from 15 yards out to score the touchdown. So it was a combination of the Strongsville Mustangs committing penalties, the Solon defense stepping up, and then Thomas Wilkes in the backfield scoring a key touchdown that really helped seal the deal for the Comets.
Jeff, we heard your interview with head coach Jim McQuaid, and he was talking about how the offense has a long way to go. Number one, do you agree with that? And number two, how much of a ceiling does this offense have based on what you've seen?
You know, something that's really interesting is that tonight they really kind of switched some things up, where in the previous weeks it just kind of felt like that they would just get set on the same plays over and over again, where they just try and throw to Trayvon Raphael down deep, or they would just try and run like a sweep play to Thomas Wilkes over on the near side. But tonight, they really started to experiment a little bit more. They put in J.T. Caver a little bit more often than in the previous weeks. They also brought Andrew Mason, who mainly is a pretty good defensive player. In fact, he actually leads the team in interceptions. They had him lining up in the backfield with Thomas Wilkes at certain times. So the offense really trying to change things up a little bit, tried to maybe give some different looks than what you saw in the previous weeks. They really started to click a little bit. And against Elyria 1 week ago, they tried experimenting with no huddle, which started to get some success. And then they started to kind of slowly bring that in again tonight. So overall, you know, just talking with head coach Jim McQuaid, pretty much he's always about improvement. So it didn't surprise me when he kept saying, oh, we have a long way to go, we have a long way to go. Even last year, when the team had a much more explosive offense, he's always big on improvement, saying we always got a long way to go, we got a long way to go. So knowing him, I know he's going to be working on some key things that we're working this week to use for Brunswick next Thursday night.
All right, Jeff Sabo, we appreciate it. As the Solon Comets win 28-14, let's head back to the phones. We'll check in with Mike Patika. Mike has the Perry Pirates taking on the Wycliffe Blue Devils, and Mike, Perry looking impressive. I'm guessing they finished looking impressive as well.
Well, when you win 67-14, team doesn't have a lot of things to complain about. And they actually had to punt for the first time this season.
Wow, first time all year?
Yep.
Wow.
Despite scoring 67. But their senior left-hand quarterback, Colston Brewster, finished 23 of 32 for 302 yards and 3 touchdowns. They outgained Wycliffe 509-49. They had 341 yards in the first half alone. And Brewster has a lot of people he can go to, including freshman Jalen Anderson, who ran for 66 yards, got passes for another 77 yards. Josh Martin, 79 yards of receptions. Jake Reed, 82 yards of receptions. And the defense continues to be awesome. one of the two touchdowns was on an 86-yard kickoff return by Wycliffe's Petway, Isaac Petway. And that defense, they were especially strong up the middle. Wycliffe was basically stymied. They had a couple pass plays that added up to about 100 yards, and other than those two plays, they got only another 40 yards or so. So really impressive performance. Obviously, don't have to say that when the score is as it is.
All right, Mike Patica, we appreciate the wrap-up as 67 points. Jeez. Yikes. And they only gave up 14. And see, I told you, one of them's on special teams. Can't say they gave up. But here's the most impressive.
You can say touchdown, though.
Yes.
Multiple touchdowns.
The most impressive thing, they had to punt. First time they punted.
That's unbelievable.
You're in week 5. This is the first time they've punted all year.
How about coming in averaging 54 points per game and upping that? Think about that. They upped their average offensively tonight, and it started at 54 points per game. That's insane.
We're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. You know what's coming up. Top plays from week 5 are ahead on Friday Night Huddle here on Spectrum Sports and cleveland.com. Stay with us.
Wednesday nights, get ready for kickoff with Spectrum Sports. High School Blitz Preview. The can't-miss show for all things high school football. We'll break down team news, the latest standings, and what to expect on the road to Canton. High School Blitz Preview. Wednesday nights at 7 on Spectrum Sports. Exclusively on Spectrum.
101 reasons to watch Friday Night Huddle this fall, along with Mark Porter from scoutingohio.com and Nate Klein from cleveland.com. I'm Dave Bacon. Mark, as we talk about linebackers, one guy that is among the best in the country, Dallas Gant, is an Ohio State recruit. You know him pretty well.
Yeah, I've been to a bunch of those games to watch him, and boy, is he athletic. And that, when you talk about the linebackers of the future at the college NFL, these guys got to be able to cover running backs. They can't come off the field on third downs. They have to be more athletic than a tailback. And this is what you have. You have a tailback standing over at linebacker with safety, corners-like skills that can play the run like a linebacker and be physical, but also in these passing spread things can walk out over a receiver, walk out on a running back or a tight end and not be worried at all as a defensive coordinator. Unbelievable athlete.
Nate, a guy that seems like he's been at Massillon forever is Jameer Thomas. He's only a junior as well.
Yeah, no offense to the seniors on this list, but I got to go with this junior here on the. This guy plays both sides of the football. He's big, he's fast, and I believe and quite naturally he's going to be kind of a key piece to what Washington does during the regular season.
You look at this list, and there are some guys that really jump out. Xavier Peters from Lakota West, Kentucky. Kentucky's coming in and getting some really good players from Ohio this year.
Yeah, and Xavier Peters had the Alabama and Ohio State tape offers. He's one of those guys that when you see him in a combine setting, looks like he belongs in the NFL right now. Long body, has a lot of room to grow and add weight, but athletic again. A guy that will not come off the field. If he's not fast enough to be covering a running back, he'll be coming off the edge, rushing a tackle, pass rush skills, run stopping skills, pass coverage skills. This is why these guys are elite when they have that many dominating qualities to them.
The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education program has been recognizing students and teachers who shine both in and out of the classroom since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com and click on Supporting Education. Students in kindergarten through 12th grade are eligible to be academic all-stars. K through 12 teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible to be honored as the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Well, we're just about halfway through the regular season of high school football all across the state of Ohio as we wrap up Week 5. Chris Fedor from cleveland.com, Nate Klein from cleveland.com, I'm Dave Bacon. These are the plays that kind of turn your head, make you say ooh, make you say ah. The top 15 plays from Week 5. We will count down from 15. You can go and vote on them. Starting tomorrow, we begin 15, the Tigers. Deion Williams, Maslin with the sack, almost a safety, but not quite yet.
Number 14, Hoban's Tyrus Dickerson. Big night on the ground with 193 yards rushing, showing off the hands, plowing over a defender into the end zone. Tyrus Dickerson, the first touchdown of the game.
Check out number 13, Elyria Catholic's Zach Evans with the big hit. Yikes! They fell to Valley Forge in 1914.
Number 12, Maslin's Aiden Longwell with the bullet. Austin Kutcher grabs it for the touchdown through the defender's hands. The Tigers get the score.
Number 11, you can't make mistakes in a big rivalry game. Oops. Hoban fumbles the handoff. St. Vincent St. Mary swarms.
And check out this running back, Rogers from Highland. Gets the handoff, but throws it to Castellanos for the big score. Highland wins 42-14 over Revere.
We need a little defense. Mayfield's defense comes up with more than a little defense. Chardon into the end zone, and it is picked off as they get it. Wow. Miscommunication? It's a top play.
So. Number 8, Bedford's Davion Johnson, the little guy. Catch and run, that's his game, and there he is with the catch, wide open, makes a move, down the sidelines, can he get it in? No, inside the 5, Davion Johnson.
Now this happened after the football game here. Number 7, Matt Gansker, check that out with the Dikembe Mutombo move. Batting the ball down during his interview against Coach Ron Rutt there.
Number 6, special teams, the kickoff. Russell Cooper, nice catch, heads up field from the 2. Oh, where's he going? Where's he going? Up the numbers. Cooper steps out of a tackle. Oh, look at that. Breaks another tackle from behind. This guy's run 120 yards already. Finally, he is knocked out of bounds. Good kickoff return. More on this game a couple plays later.
Number 5, Centerville's Alec Grandin hooking up with Jake Speedwack. Touchdown. Great over-the-shoulder catch right there. The Elks victorious 31-19 over Springburg.
And in number 4, Chardon's Andrew Kobowinski with the 60-yard quarterback keeper for the touchdown. Look at him going. Take a look at that. Chardon gets the win, 20-7 over Mayfield in their conference.
Time to get a little fancy at number 3, Elyria Catholics. Leighton Banjoff, wearing number 90, throwing like a quarterback to Donovan Warfield behind the defense. It's the halfback pass for 6 points, but Elyria Catholic lost to Valley Forge.
Saw the halfback pass a few times tonight, going to the bag of tricks. How about number 2, St. Vincent St. Mary didn't have a lot to celebrate tonight in the Akron Holy War, except for this, Luke Lindsay hooking up with Jalen Ross, dragging a defender. Big gain, but it just wasn't enough for the Irish.
And lastly but not least here, Hoban's Garrett, I'm taking it to the house. Hauser with the big catch and a run for a touchdown. Look at this. Say hello to Navy now. Hoban wins 21-7 over St. Vincent St. Mary.
Well, these plays will be posted on cleveland.com, and you need to go on cleveland.com and vote for your top plays. We want you to send us plays as well. Hashtag FNH Friday Night Huddle, top plays. We'll use them. You send them, we'll use them via Twitter. But, Nate, again, they can go on cleveland.com, vote for their top play, their favorite play. I would recommend you get in touch with the Barberton block because they vote quite well. They turn out to vote. And we'll go through them as voted on by the cleveland.com viewers next Friday night on Friday Night Huddle.
Yeah, absolutely. They have all the way up until Thursday afternoon to make their vote. And also, sometimes maybe overnight and even in the morning, some people actually just try to submit something, see if it could be for consideration as well. So, yeah, definitely hit us up on FNH Top Plays with the hashtag or just hit myself and Matt. So, yeah, some great plays. We saw this evening a lot of big runs as well. That was a big one. So, but, yeah, great plays.
Well, one of the games that we've been tracking all night long was Highland's big win over Revere as the Hornets stay unbeaten. Spencer Davies caught up with Mike Gibbons after the game, and they have this to say. Take it away, Spencer.
Had that bag of tricks play too. That little 41-yard, what was it, a halfback pass or something?
Yeah, well, we run so many jet sweeps with Jake Rogers, so their defense is really coming up on him and really stopping him there. So we knew, maybe we can try that and get that over the top on him. So we've been working on it and we're able to execute it.
Speaking of Rogers, just such a versatile talent. I mean, a pick. He's got 3 touchdowns. I think he had like a passing touchdown, a running touchdown. Like responsible for all this stuff.
Right. Well, you know what? He's a special kid. Like you said, I mean, it's like 3 players in one as far as what he does offensively, defensively, and then special teams. So he's obviously a key part of our success and just a special athlete. He's not the biggest kid in the world, but he's pretty devastating on the field.
Matthew Winters completed his first 7 passes of the night and was pretty solid overall. What did you think of him throwing the ball tonight?
Yeah, he's a senior. He's a returning starter. He has great poise and command of the offense. So, I trust him to go out there and execute, and he went out there and played well tonight. So it's good to see.
The defense less than 12 points a game coming into this game. How do you think that they fared, especially because your offense kind of overshadowed them a little bit tonight?
Yeah, defensively, we're going to continue to work. They played well there, but then, maybe in the second half gave up a few things here and there. So we got to continue to work and get better on that side of the ball. We know we have a big challenge next week in Green, and we just got to get ready to turn the page here and get ready for them.
Their tailback Buser looked like he had a pretty decent night against you guys. What would you think about his play?
Yeah, very quick back. They run a kind of a zone scheme, and he's able to kind of find the creases in the offensive line holes that they created and get through there pretty quick. So yeah, he's an explosive running back, and he was tough.
And you guys are 5-0, I think, for the first time in like 4 or 5 years. How does it feel to start the season so well?
Yeah, that's how we wanted to start, obviously. But our goal has always been to take it 1 week at a time. That's really what we're emphasizing right now. It's just even though we're 5-0, we're worried about next week now and trying to turn the page and get ready for Green and just keep doing that over and over again and hope that the results are good.
All right, says Mike Gibbons, Highland Hornets improved to 5-0. Well, it was a wild one as Brush and Kenston. Bryant Kaiser joins us. Bryant, how did this one end?
I said the first one to 50, and I was right. We had a touchdown by Johnson, 11-yard touchdown strike with about 2.5 seconds remaining in the game, and Brush wins that one 52-48. Light up that scoreboard.
52-48, so the Arcs get it done. Go ahead, Brian.
I got the head coach coming on in a few seconds.
Okay. What did you think was the key here? I know they converted on a 4th down and.
Yeah, the poise of the quarterback, Goodwin. He was faced with 3rd and 5, 3rd and 8, 4th and 5, and he just calmly drove his team down the field and got that score. I mean, he puts them on the back. I mean, it was a nice drive. I mean, falling down behind 41-31, 45-41. I mean, he just calmly, he said, "Hey, I got this."
And 2.5 seconds left is when they scored to.
They scored a touchdown.
Wow.
And I got the Brush Arcs coach right here. this will be big if Friday night.
Hey, Coach Fink, how are you?
doing?
How are you,
Good,
Coach Fink?
good.
Hey, congratulations.
Well, I'm doing a lot better right now.
Yeah, I bet. What was the difference in that drive for you? Bryant told us you win with 2.5 left. I know you moved down the field. What?
Well, we moved slow. One of the things was that we were going to give them the ball back to them because we made sure that if they got the ball back, whoever had it last was going to have a chance to win the game. So we weren't in a hurry until we got down under a minute. We had the 3 timeouts and just kept chipping away at them. And then Godwin Joe made an impromptu play to Zach Dixon for the win.
What goes through your mind as that play is unfolding? I know this is obviously a big win for you. This is a team you hadn't beaten. They're unbeaten. You're 3-1. What kind of goes through your mind? Take me through that last play when you get that play to win it with 2.5 seconds left.
Well, we told the kids before the drive it was going to be a lot of fun. And at that point, it's just leaving it out there, and I have great belief in our kids, and I trust our kids. Like I told you, it was an impromptu play. We were rolling right, and we got pressure in the face, and he rolled back to the left and got in the scramble rules, and 2 kids made a play like they were playing backyard football.
Coach, do you feel like you learned anything new about your team tonight in a win like this?
Well, yeah, it's our first win on the road versus a tough opponent, and one we had to gut out. We had a 13-point lead in the half that was evaporated very quickly in the third quarter, and guys were going down and cramping, and we had to win it on guts. And that's something we haven't had to do yet, and just got out a victory over a good football team.
Coach Howe, I know you coached with Coach Grubich over at Mentor. You're both offensive coordinators. A lot of similarities between what you guys are doing offensively? Yeah, very, very similar. I mean, there's so much familiarity, and, before I came to Brush, we would talk, weekly offensively, and he's a dear friend of mine, and, we know what they're doing, they know what we're doing, and, he's got a great football program. He's a great football coach, so there's definitely those familiarities when you got 2 Mentor OCs going who wouldn't think it would be a 50-point game on the last second play.
Can you speak to the level of confidence that you have in this offense right now, and mainly in your quarterback, Godwin Joe, after what he was able to do tonight, and especially late?
Yeah, I think, as a whole, it's our whole offense. Our offensive line play continues to improve each week, and, it's the key that you have five receivers out there. And I haven't looked at the stat line yet, but we're pretty darn balanced between catches and who's who and of getting the football. And when you can do that, you can be balanced in that way. And obviously, it runs through Godwin, and Godwin showed some guts. He got banged up twice early. One playing defense, and we had a interception in the red zone that him and another guy collided on, and took another one in the third quarter. He had to come out for a series. Took a shot on his run play there, but just his guts and his really his decision making. I mean, he threw 2 interceptions tonight, but other than that, he hasn't turned the ball over, and just the trust and level of confidence I have in him is through the roof. Coach, your second year, you were 4-6 a year ago, 4-1 now. What do you tell the kids about where you're at as a program? With our kids, we're going to take it 1 week at a time, and there's great parity in our conference. I mean, it's kind of coach cliche, but when you look at our conference, anybody can beat anybody on any night, and what we did right now is we just put a target on our backs a little bit, and we got to get ready on a short week and play a tough Willoughby South team on a Thursday night and get our guys to understand they're a lot better than their record indicates. Coach Fink, we appreciate the time. Congratulations on a really nice win. Go enjoy it with your team. Thanks for joining us. Absolutely. Thank you. Jeff Fink, obviously, and that Thursday night game is going to be seen live on Spectrum Sports, 7 o'clock Thursday night, as the 4-1 Brush Sharks host Willoughby South. So you could tell there's, as you would expect, co-offensive coordinator with Jeff Grubich from Kenston at Mentor. He alluded to it. You'd expect 50 points, and you expect to be a lot of respect. It's a really nice win for the Brush program, a great win for the Brush program.
And on the road, too. That just shows maybe some character out of your team.
Sure.
But no, definitely, this was sound like it was a very hard-fought game this morning, especially on a homecoming night for Kinston. I know that they didn't want to go out this way, but you know, hats off to Brush for winning the game tonight, and you know, just showing a little bit more character out of this 5 weeks here.
2.5 seconds left. They win it. That's, you know, that gives you some confidence. That gives you some belief in yourself. A lot of good things going on.
I wanted to ask him, we didn't have the time, but I wanted to ask him about the decision, because if you've got 2.5 seconds, it was a 3-point game, right? So, you know, theoretically, you could go for the field goal, you could tie it up, you could go into overtime, but for him to have the confidence in his offense, and rightfully so, and for him to have the confidence in his quarterback, you know, that's one play and it's over. Either you make the play or you don't make the play. And for him to turn down the field goal opportunity and put it in the hands of his quarterback, Godwin Joe, and for him to deliver and win the game and finally beat an opponent that they've never beaten before, I mean, those are building blocks, no question about it, but I think it shows the confidence that they have in this offense right now.
Let's take a look at the scores as we wrap up Week 5. Hoban 21-7 over St. Vincent St. Mary. Bedford has cut it to a 12-point game, and Avon doubles up Midview. Look at Menor, 62 on the board, and they shut out Brunswick 62-0. How about those Wadsworth Grizzlies?
We'll talk in the morning.
Okay.
We'll talk.
All right.
You can join the conference call.
41-28. Congratulations to Coach Todd. Wadsworth gives Stowe their first loss. They are unbeaten. Perry puts 67 on the board. 67
it's like they play a different
14.
sport than everybody else.
They've only punted one time in 5 weeks.
Unreal. That's unreal.
Highland, a 42-14 winner over Revere. Carter Wheelo and the Benedictine Bengals, a 35-16 winner. Buckeye just continues to roll. The Bucks, 49-20 winners. You see Bay, 38-15. Congratulations to Jim McQuaid, 200th win as Solon's head coach, 28-14. They beat the Strongsville Mustangs. Canton McKinley, a little bit of trouble with Hoover, 42-34. They win. Independence, no trouble at all. And here's some other scores. Look at St. Xavier beating Moeller, 30-7. Chardon wins 20-7. Talmadge improves to 4-1 as they beat Dover by a touchdown. Lincoln, 2-point winner over Kaufman. Here's what we're looking at in Week 6. Brunswick and Solon play Thursday night. Brecksville and Twinsburg play Thursday night as well. Aurora and Barberton, that's a playoff game for Aurora. That's one Barberton has had circled since last year when they lost twice to the Greenmen. And this one's going to be really interesting. NDCL and Benedictine. NDCL, really tough defense. That'll be a really good game. Rocky River and Bay that we have talked about a little bit as well. We've got about 30 seconds in show. Nate, what grabs your attention this week?
I'm going to pick this Aurora-Barberton game. Aurora met Barberton twice last season, and both of those games went in favor of Aurora, especially that playoff game. And so I know that Barberton has to probably be saying to themselves, you know what, we won this game, we've been preparing for this game, and I think they're going to get a shot at this. So,
I think before jumping ahead to Week 6, I want to hang here right now in Week 5. And for Bedford, I think this is a big moment. They lost to Massillon, but potentially just one loss, okay? And I think the thing that they have to understand is that handling adversity is just as important as handling prosperity. They got off to a great start. Those wins are already racked up. They can't allow this loss against Massillon to spiral. Last year at the end of the season, they lost in Week 9, then they lost in Week 10. They had no momentum going into the playoffs. Then they lost in the first round of the playoffs. So making sure that this is just one loss is very, very important, I think, for Bedford.
Yeah, I would agree. And, you know, there is no shame in losing to the Massillon Tigers at Paul Brown Tiger Stadium. You know, the thing that really jumps out for me again, and we've touched on it a little bit, Wadsworth. That is a big time win, and I'm not trying to beat up Nate by this, but you could see the pieces kind of growing late last year. I know they didn't finish the year the way they wanted to, but this is a team that just keeps getting better. They're younger. They're buying in. They have a coach that's in his second year, and that is just trending the right way. And I'm a little surprised that, they ended up, putting that many points on the board against a really good Stowe team.
Is this finally enough to get them in the top 25?
Everyone's got to have their bulletin board material. So, no, Wadsworth has done a heck of a job in these first 5 weeks, and they've proven that. Obviously, if anybody gets a chance, look at their schedule and just see who the opponents that they played and how they fared lately. That kind of brings your question in. But also at the same time, that Suburban League is kind of taking a little bit of shape now. Just we were talking about Erdonia and just the start that they've had now. But Wadsworth, I'm pretty sure we're going to have that conversation via text and email. So.
Barberton's another one that you can't sleep on in the Suburban League without question. And if you're Stowe, teaching moment for Mark Norrie. Obviously, you can't go into a game thinking you're going to throw your helmets on there and win it. Well, we are out of time. We are at the halfway point of the regular season. Week 5 is in the books. We will see you again next Friday night for Week 6 across Ohio in high school football. Gina DePeppo from Mayfield, our student reporter, will take us out. We'll see you again next week right here on Friday Night Huddle.
So I'm here with Jamie Miosi, my buddy Caleb Lardner here. So at the end of the game, it ends up being Chardon 20, Mayfield 7. It was a tough loss for Mayfield, but we did really well, played hard, kept going no matter what. Chardon had 2 running touchdowns by their quarterback, which was really well done on their part. But, Mayfield's we're going to get it next time, boys, right?
Next week, on to Friday.
Yep. Best of luck to Chardon in their season. And Mayfield still got our pride back here.
Bye. Good night.
Rah, rah, rah. I know Mayfield. I know Mayfield. Fight on for your fame. So fight, fellas, fight, and we will win this game. See you next week.
The High School Sports Insider is brought to you by Cuyahoga Community College, where futures begin. By the Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. By Spectrum Sports. By Dominion East Ohio. Dominion, it all starts here. And by Classic Teleproductions.
September is almost gone. The football season is halfway through the regular season, and before you know it, the fall sports will be entering tournament mode. Great time to join us for some of the best high school sports stories from all across Ohio. Thanks for joining the High School Sports Insider. Along with Bill Castrovince, I'm Dave Bacon.
Today's show is packed with stars from the gridiron, including a multi-talented football star and a magic team. Plus, we have a pair of state champions, one from the court and another who is always on the run.
We take to the gridiron to begin tonight. Anthony Gatto went back to his alma mater, Barberton High School, to take over the football program a few seasons ago. Last year, the Magic went to the playoffs for the first time since the 90s, when Gatto was a player. Barberton is off to a good start again this year and expecting bigger and better things on the football field. We have an all-access look at Barberton, where the Magic has returned to the football program.
So just coming back home obviously was really exciting. Being able to impact in the community that you grew up in is awesome.
You don't pick him up. It would be the back would pick him up. Okay. And for some reason, he slid off inside here.
I knew the main thing was to get a great staff, which I was able to do. I always tell my staff I'm only as good as they are.
He's heading up on you. You got to think you're getting him.
Even if
there's no inside. This is you're basically going to get him.
Obviously, getting the kids to buy in. I did know the community pretty well. I wasn't too worried about that. So, having the kids buy into what we were going to do, and that really was just to get bigger, faster, and stronger. Spend those off seasons, pumping iron. This senior class is the class that was coming in as 9th graders. They really bought in. They've always been the class that had the most kids in the weight room, and the dedication and determination they had. The weights that they put up in the weight room are unbelievable.
Hey, contact here. Stay off the legs. Stay off the legs.
I want it to be contagious. These freshmen coming in. Some of these kids don't understand, what it takes to be good at something. you hope that leadership that these seniors have had for 4 years rubs off in some of my other ones, and that's what keeps it going for continued success.
Yeah, good. All right, we're okay. Hey, make sure we finish those blocks.
Maybe we can go deeper in the playoffs and grow each week. I tell the kids, once you make to the playoffs, it's just about playing good football, who's healthy, and hopefully the ball rolls your way a couple times.
Ready, ready.
Football is a sport that these kids get to play, an opportunity, and Key kind of mentioned it. It helps them evolve into men. The decisions they make. I try to bring discipline, and there's consequences if you're late to practice. There's consequences if you don't show up to practice.
How good is he? He's pretty good. You got to step harder than that.
I think the kids understand that I do try to stay consistent with them, and I'm hoping that they learn a lot of things that are going to take them and make them more successful young men, and some of the habits they learn playing the game of football.
Pretty good. Those of you that are getting bumps and bruises, hey, know the difference between being injured and bumps and bruises. There might be a couple of you that need to toughen up.
It's a physical game. The more physical, team, is usually going to prevail. We have great athletes out here in Barberton that can do a lot of things. But to me, mainly, if we can win in the trenches, you're going to win games.
Hey, film me on me. 1, 2, 3.
Coming in and then buying into what we're doing, we have a trust in each other kind of relationship where we can have fun and kind of mess around with each other and have pretty solid relationships, especially in the off season in the weight room.
We stay in the Suburban League to meet a jack of all trades. Gavin Blunt is like a Swiss Army knife. Name a position, chances are he's played it. In fact, the Aurora senior has spent so much time on the football field, he might as well take over as a Greenman logo. Let's meet Gavin Blunt, this week's Spectrum Sports Game Breaker.
Gavin Blunt doesn't sell popcorn on Friday nights. It's the only job he doesn't have. The Aurora senior has 7 other things to do on the field.
At the end of games, it can get tiring, but I love playing football, so I'll do anything for the team, even if that means stay on the field the whole time.
After one dominating year of freshman football, Blunt was ready for the varsity.
My sophomore year, my brother was a senior, so I knew all of his friends, and they kind of helped me, kind of get used to the game, playing underneath the lights on Friday night, so I felt comfortable.
In fact, Gavin became Aurora's best wide receiver as a 10th grader, a job he's held ever since.
And he just does everything right. He's probably the best receiver we've ever had here, and he's the most coachable receiver we have here. He comes back every play and wants to know little details of what he can fix and what he can do to get better.
But with his speed and 3.5 GPA, Blunt became a weapon on defense at outside linebacker.
We blitz him at times where he has contained. He also can then drop back and pass with the man-to-man coverage, which is great because we have an outside backer that can rush off the edge, and he can cover a slot receiver and some of their fastest receivers.
And, of course, he's busy on special teams.
He is our holder. He is our punter. He is every returner on kickoff return, punt return. He never comes off the field. It's hard to take him off the field when he does all that stuff right, and he's the man out there.
In fact, the only time he's on the bench is on kickoffs.
I think it's honestly just to give me a break during the game. I'd play it if they let me, but Coach Mahawk won't let me.
Besides being clearly our best football player, he is our hardest worker. And when you have your most talented kid being your hardest worker, you have a chance to be pretty good.
Gavin Blunt will play wide receiver at Akron next year, but don't be surprised if he's doing much more.
Going to Akron's pretty exciting. Something to look forward to after this year. It's just not my last year of football. I can look forward to 4 more years.
Gavin is also a 4-year starter in basketball, and he can dunk. The Akron Zips are getting one awesome athlete.
We're just getting things rolling on this week's show. There's an old saying that good things come in small packages. Beechwood's cross-country program knows that to be true. And the University School Preppers are looking to build on their playoff success from a year ago. The High School Sports Insider will be right back.
There is a place where dreams arise. Stars are born. And greatness is made. What you live for lives here. Spectrum Sports.
The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education program has been recognizing students and teachers who shine both in and out of the classroom since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com and click on Supporting Education. Students in kindergarten through 12th grade are eligible to be academic all-stars. K through 12 teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible to be honored as the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Thanks for riding shotgun with us on the High School Sports Insider. Ben Melbasa was excited to return to his alma mater 3 years ago as a head football coach. Now University School is thrilled at what their new coach is building. The Preppers were a Division III playoff team a season ago and look to be on track to make another playoff run in 2017. Melbasa's players have bought into the program and the numbers are up. More and more students want to be a part of the success. We salute the University School Preppers, our team of the week.
The football program is definitely headed in the right direction at University School under alum Ben Melbasa. The Preppers return a solid core from last year's team that made the Division III playoffs and won a first-round game before falling to Toledo Central Catholic.
I think we all thought about how off-season means so much for the postseason, if that makes sense. So putting in as much work as we can in the off-season so that we can compete with those big teams like Toledo Central Catholic.
Just from a program standpoint, 2 years ago we had a really strong finish to the year. Last year we made it into the playoffs and won a game in the playoffs. I think we have a group of seniors right now who've had a lot of success in our program, and they're expecting of it others.
Senior quarterback Jaden Cunningham is one of the leaders who helps make the Preppers' high-powered offense go.
The main thing with Jaden is he has an incredible passion really for everything, but for the game in particular. And I think if you watch on the field, there's not a player in football who's more enthusiastic about playing football. When a guy on the team makes a play, Jaden's the first guy, to the pile celebrating the play.
I think strength is a lot of seniors returning, especially on the defense and offense. Offensive line, for the most part, everybody's coming back, even though there are some younger kids who were on O-line. Now they're just stepping in, filling in roles. I feel like if we can focus on little details and executing plays, that will help us in the long run.
The attention to detail is a great sign. A more impressive one is that the players are taking ownership of this team.
There was a sophomore at safety who had a bad play, and one of our senior captains was out on the field grabbing him and saying, hey, the next 3 plays are pride plays now. That tells us a lot about where we are as a program when seniors see a young guy who needs a reminder to not give in.
We have players who can make plays, and we know that. It's just having the confidence to make the plays and just continuing to execute.
Our guys take a great deal of pride in what we've done the last couple of years to get ourselves where we want to be. And Jim Stevens coached here for 15 years before me. He's one of the reasons why I'm here. And Jim did this once at the beginning of the 2000s, where you just get a point where you start to say, hey, we expect to do great things.
Our next story proves that state champions come in all sizes. Take, for instance, Leah Roeder. The Beechwood senior is 4 feet 11 tall. Many of her opponents in cross country tower over her, but all she does is run right past all of them. Here's Leah Roeder, our Cuyahoga Community College student athlete with a future. Cuyahoga Community College, where futures begin.
She's not even 5 feet tall, but Leah Roeder is a giant in Beechwood history as the first girl to win a state title in cross country.
I'm happy that my legacy is up there, and I hope other people take that and work hard to achieve something that they want.
In fact, as a junior, she had a perfect season.
I was in the lead for all my races. I won every race last year, and I don't want that to, just because it's states, I don't want to scare myself because of that.
Roeder went to the state finals with the best time in Ohio, but she didn't have the best luck with her shoes.
I remember my shoelace becoming untied at the 2-mile mark, and I got really worried.
It didn't matter. There was no stopping Leah. In 17 minutes and 55 seconds, Roeder won the Division II trophy.
And so many of her teammates were there to watch her, which was fantastic as well. We had a few of the teammates are also in the marching bands. They brought their trumpets and all their gear, and they were pounding and going, and it was just, it takes a village. It really does.
Now a senior, what will she do for an encore?
The pressure is on for sure because there are other girls that are going to be chasing me, but also that same pressure is going to help me become faster and mentally strong.
She runs 45 to 55 miles a week, and Leah is a 3.9 student too. Put it all together, and she wants to be a nutritionist someday.
I'm really interested in how what you eat affects your body in certain ways, and I've always been interested in it, and I think it'll also play really well into running.
From running to reading and arithmetic, the best is yet to come for Leah Roeder.
She looks at all kinds of facets and says, where can I improve? How can I improve? What should I do to improve? You know, we kind of structure her training as well so that she will be getting better and better and better.
If you missed some of today's show or want to see past episodes, they're online and free. What a deal, I know. Head to citybeat-tv.com. That's citybeat-tv.com.
We're going to take a break, but when we come back, we'll travel to the land of Blazers for our shining star. Then it's off to the NFL for this week's Insider Classic. Stay tuned.
Before I decided to go back to Tri-C to become a nurse, I was a stay-at-home mom. Absolutely wanted to be a pediatric nurse. I love taking care of kids. If you're thinking about changing your career or changing your path, go to Cuyahoga Community College. I feel like I'm in a great place in my life. I have 3 great kids. I have a great job that I love. I could not have done it without Tri-C. My name's Diana Geary. I earned my nursing degree from Cuyahoga Community College.
I dare you. I dare you to change the world. Yeah, you. Getting that college education.
I dare you to be somebody important.
Like be a teacher. Or a reality TV star.
I dare you to stand up here.
To call the shots.
To be a role model.
An inspiration. An innovator.
To be a teacher. Be my teacher.
Think you can change my life?
Make me excited about science like you.
Have a career that really means something?
Then do it.
I dare you. I dare you.
The High School Sports Insider continues with a stop on the tennis court with a student athlete you're going to love. Stephanie Zhao has helped Hathaway Brown win 2 state titles in a row, and her work on the classroom is even more impressive. Stephanie Zhao, this week's Ohio Lottery Partners in Education Shining Star.
Hathaway Brown has only 1 senior this year. Fortunately, that senior is Stephanie Zhao.
Stephanie is a kid that brings a lot of energy, and you know, she's positive both on the court and off the court. She's one of our leaders, and you know, just a super kid.
Not only is she a great teammate, Zhao is the ideal doubles player who can be paired with anyone.
When you play singles, it's not the same. Like, you have someone there who's leaning on you, or you have someone to lean on. Like, it's very different dynamics, so I love playing doubles.
You know, when you're playing with a freshman or playing with a sophomore and they're kind of nervous, that makes you more relaxed. So it's a great thing for her to be able to bring to our team.
She could also help any teammate with her homework, since Stephanie's grade point average is over a 4 point.
This year I'm in 4 APs and an honor. Last year I was in 3 APs and 2 honors. So like, it's just been growing since freshman year, since like my 1 honor class. But if you want to challenge yourself and get into a good college, you got to take those AP classes.
Zhao isn't sure where she'll go to school yet, but it's a good bet she'll be in the Ivy League next year. In the meantime, we do know Stephanie can be found at the Cleveland Clinic, where she has been interning for years.
I work in a biomedical engineering lab, and we study abdominal aortic aneurysms, which is a heart disease, and I'm looking at a specific drug to cure that heart disease. So I've been doing this for 3 years, yeah. So like right after tennis practice, I'll go to lab.
Her plan is to go into pre-med and become a pediatric doctor. And playing tennis has actually helped Stephanie Zhao on her journey.
It like brings me strength, like to play a match against a girl and then almost win. It's like the part of like learning how to like deal with losses and like know how to move on from different challenges in life.
If you know a student who shines in the classroom, like Stephanie, you should send in a nomination. Just go to ohiolottery.com. At the top of the page, find the tab that's marked Supporting Education, and that's where you'll find all the info.
Each week on the show, we take a look at a student athlete we featured who's gone on to success at the college, professional, sometimes international levels. Brian Hoyer earned a starting job at Michigan State with his confidence and persistence. He backed up Tom Brady for a few years with the Patriots. Then he became a starter for the Browns, Texans, Bears, and now 49ers. Not a surprise to the folks who watched him play at St. Ignatius High School, where Brian was actually the winning pitcher in the state championship baseball game, in addition to starring as a quarterback for the Wildcats. This week, Brian Hoyer becomes a classic.
With as many different things as Brian Hoyer's got working, you'd expect them to start blending together.
Any chance of him going up the line and calling the play in Spanish?
He could do that with great audible, wouldn't it?
Hang around Brian for a while and you wouldn't be surprised to see him pull it off. But at the beginning of his junior season, well, things appeared a bit differently.
He had to play in big ball games right away. The great value of what ended up with last year was then he had the whole off season to take every game. He started every game for us and evaluate himself and see where you can improve.
Not that last season was a bust. Oh no, far from it. Hoyer threw for over 2,000 yards. We call that a productive education.
I made my progressions a lot easier this year, just knowing by what kind of coverages there are, what kind of the defensive fronts there are. So I learned a great deal, and it's helped a lot this year.
On the field, knowledge is power.
If he doesn't like the play, doesn't like the coverage, doesn't like the alignment that the defense gives us, well, fine, then we're going to allow him to change it.
I look basically at the defensive linemen and then the safeties. First of all, we always call it the defensive line front, and then we look at the coverages. So,
high expectations, Hoyer's always had them covered. As a sophomore, he pitched in the state baseball championship. The kid can throw.
He's got a quick release. He's got a strong arm. We're an offense that certainly does go vertical with its passing game. When it has a shot, we're going to try to hit the long one.
The not-too-distant future has Brian traveling north to Michigan State, where he'll run an offense that's kind of familiar.
Dave Regone played under the same coaches at Louisville, and every time I was up there, I felt comfortable. So,
this Mattress Matters game breaker's so comfortable in class, he also teaches. Well, tutors at a nearby elementary school.
You can see their smile on their face because they're understanding how to do things now, and you know that you help them.
So, any thought of going in and teaching?
No. I feel bad for my teachers, so I don't want to be in their position.
I don't have them this semester. I have them next semester in the classroom, so I'll find out about that. I can't comment other than I'll give you a call in about 6 or 7 months, and I'll give you an answer on that one.
We'll be by the phone.
I'll have them first period during the day, too. Yeah, Chaucer and Shakespeare, so I'll give you a call on that one.
We want you to get more involved in the show, and you can through social media. Follow us on Twitter. We're at HS Sports Insider and at Dave Bacon Sports. Tweet us your story ideas or your pictures showing your school spirit, and we'll use them in a future show. We're still plugging away on Facebook as well. Head to our page and like us. We're at High School Sports Insider.
But stick around. The tweets of the week are next.
The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education program has been recognizing students and teachers who shine both in and out of the classroom since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com and click on Supporting Education. Students in kindergarten through 12th grade are eligible to be academic all-stars. K through 12 teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible to be honored as the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education, where stars shine.
There is a place where dreams arise, stars are born, and greatness is made. What you live for lives here. Spectrum Sports.
Thanks for hanging with us on the High School Sports Insider. For the first 25 minutes or so, we've told you what we think is important. Now it's your turn to let us know what's on your mind. A few rules: you have to use 140 characters or less. Better yet, just send a picture. Time for the Tweets of the Week. We begin tonight with a shout out to the NDCL cross country team. They took home first place in the Spartan Invitational at Boardman High School. The Lions outran 62 teams. Over at Euclid, the Euclid Police Department rewarded 5 Lady Panther soccer players with custom-made Nike cleats as a thank you for volunteering and helping out with the city's summer soccer camps. Great news for a former St. Edward Eagle, Sean Crawford, healthy and showing up big for Notre Dame. Crawford was named the Fighting Irish's Defensive Player of the Week after his 2-interception and fumble recovery performance against Boston College. And a video tweet from the Bear Den, Upper Arlington's student section. They're a good group. The Bear Den made their mascot's homecoming dreams come true by finding him a perfect match for the homecoming dance. Well done, Bear Den. Well done. Keep those tweets coming. We want your story ideas or your pictures showing your school spirit. Tweet those to us. We're at HS Sports Insider or at Dave Bacon Sports. Use hashtag HSSI Ohio. Again, that's at HS Sports Insider or at Dave Bacon Sports. Use hashtag HSSI Ohio. We'll use a few of them on upcoming shows as the Tweets of the Week. We're all out of time on this week's show. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us. We expect to see you back here next week. Same time, same place, when again, we'll have some of the best high school sports stories from all across Ohio.
And as always, thanks for supporting high school athletics. Have a great night.
I've got a 4-year degree. I wasn't really able to find a job despite putting out over 100 applications, so I decided to go back to school. You know, Tri-C really did change my life. After getting my degree from Tri-C, I'm working in the IT field. I work at a job I love. Life is good, thanks to Tri-C. My name is Josh Gatka, and I received my IT degree from Tri-C.
We cannot be bystanders.
We can stop to make sure someone is okay.
We can warn someone when their drink isn't safe.
And disrupt the situation.
We can.
Get someone the cab.
Or walk them home safely.
We can make campuses safer for our friends.
Our roommates.
Our classmates. Our fellow human beings.
We cannot be bystanders.
We can. Intervene.
It's on us.
All of us.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.